All right, I suppose we should do Impact.
We can.
Impact, I thought, was an excellent show.
Impact was awesome.
This show is so much better than Raw, it's not even funny.
Thank God for this show.
If you're one of those people that listen to this show just to hear us bury Impact, it's time for you to get a new show.
Yeah, there's other websites out there, man.
I'm not going to sit here and bury a show that's good. I don't care what you say. But, hey, luckily for all of you, the Vince Russo U-Shoot takes place on Friday. So if you want to be infuriated, that's the place for you to go. Me, I'm going to just enjoy my Impact and carry on with my life. So let us proceed.
Impact is live this week. Had a very hyped crowd. And by the way, just from the get-go, for a live 2-hour show, I don't think I saw one fuck-up.
Yeah.
By anyone. So the opener, as advertised, was Sting versus Bobby Roode in a lumberjack match. It had a very good TV match in the 3-star range. It was a short copy of the Flair Sting match from the Clash DVD, in that Roode would take a bunch of crazy-ass bumps. He'd get the heat for a bit, and then Sting would make a big no-selling comeback. Repeat. And then finally, Sting did a pescado onto a bunch of lumberjacks. Roode got the crossface, but Sting got the ropes. And then shortly thereafter, Sting got the scorpion and won. It was a non-title match, which I was confused about. Then Hogan came out. He booked a rematch for the pay-per-view, and he made it very clear that the title would be on the line there.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope so. It's a pay-per-view. But still.
A fine opening segment, although it did look like Sting got a little bit tired there.
Well, I am amazed with Sting. I admire Sting. I respect Sting, but he's a human being. And he's a human being in his 50s?
He is in his
late
50s. Not late 50s.
50s, yes. Madison was backstage. This is actually awesome. She's looking in the mirror and talking about how she wants to look pretty for her mystery man, who she didn't identify. And she has her sash. This is Miss Impact or Impact Beauty Queen or whatever it is. She's using a hair straightening iron to straighten her sash.
Mm-hmm.
Just cuz.
Enjoyed.
Yeah. Then we had the best thing on a good show. Bully Ray came to the ring for a promo. He immediately calls out Joe Park Esq, who has his ticket for the same seat every week.
Yes. Somehow he gets he pays for a free ticket to the same seat every week. It's astonishing.
Yeah. He's sitting there. He's got his popcorn and soda. And when Ray calls him out, he's horrified, caught off guard, and a little embarrassed, but he's still eating his popcorn. That was great. So Ray shows the footage of himself beating up Joe Park last week. He calls Joe down to the ring. Joe is mortified. He insists he doesn't want to fight. Ray finally calls him a coward, and his mother's a coward, and his father's a coward, and his brother Abyss is a coward. Joe freaked out a little bit, lost control. He got in the ring. He said, look, I'm not a wrestler, not a fighter. I'm a lawyer. I don't want to fight. And he starts to leave, and then Ray announces that he's going to change his plea. You recall last week, Joe asked Ray if he was guilty of, something to Abyss. So, and Ray pled not guilty. This week, Ray decided to plead guilty to leaving Abyss for dead.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said this, Joe Park flipped his lid. He ran across the ring. He grabbed Bully Ray by the lapels. At this point, Bully Ray, the world's greatest bully, dropped to his knees and he began to beg for mercy. And then said that if Joe hit him, he would sue. Joe regained his composure. Said he would not stoop to Ray's level. Ray called him a coward again and left the ring. Joe picked up the mic and changed his mind and said, you want to fight? Let's fight right now. He took off his glasses, he took off his jacket, and he put up his dukes. And Ray said, if you want to fight, we'll do it at Slammiversary. And then Joe realized what deep shit he had gotten himself into. And he put his hand over his mouth. He was horrified. He didn't know what to do. He was perplexed. Ray was smug. Ray walked up the ramp. This segment was gold.
Joe Park, my hero. He's got the best facial expressions of anybody in pro wrestling.
He does.
He's so awesome. He is a silent movie character.
Yeah.
Man after my own heart.
And he has the best, I've decided he has the best account on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
It's just great. That's all I can say. I can't do it justice here. Other than The last tweet he saw that as far as I know, was sitting alone in my hotel room. What have I done? Poor Joe Park.
Yeah, he got himself in trouble.
Yeah, he's his Twitter account. People are he's dealing with people who assume he's Abyss, whereas in fact that's his brother, Chris. Abyss.
Yes.
So we had some technical difficulties.
Oh God, I forgot.
Yeah. Comcast
sucks.
It told us it recorded 2 hours and 10 minutes, and then when we hit play, it said 37 minutes.
Yeah.
So apparently
this happened a couple of times, actually.
Yeah. Apparently there was a Crimson segment here we missed. We watched the rest of the show on an internet site. Perhaps I should not say, even though it's a free show, and we're doing them a favor by reviewing it, but whatever. We had Austin Aries versus Chris Sabin. They never mentioned Alex Shelley's name.
Actually, they did.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
One time they mentioned Alex Shelley's name. I don't think they specifically mentioned he had quit or anything.
No.
They just mentioned that even though...
They said for the last several years he'd been in a tag team with Alex Shelley. Period.
I see. Yeah, and they said that he's not just Sabin is not just a tag team wrestler. He's a singles guy with multiple X Division championships. And so there you go. So he wrestled Austin Aries here. They had a fun match. It was basically the first 5 minutes of a great 20-minute match. And
way too short.
Way too short.
My only complaint on the show, really.
Aries got the win with a quick roll-up. And it was very clean, back and forth, competitive, two babyfaces action. But then after Sabin got pinned, he was pissed. He was pissed.
Possible heel turn in the works.
Slow burn heel turn, even better. Saw a backstage conversation with Hulk Hogan and Taz. There are some people who just seeing them on screen together is incredibly bizarre. This was one of them. So the gist of this is that they obviously they did not mention Ric Flair's name, but Taz is the new judge in Gut Check. And so we got Al Snow.
Did you check out his gut? My God.
I had not thought of that, but you make an excellent point.
He is huge.
He's not in fighting shape. So we got Al Snow, Bruce Pritchard, and Taz talking about Joey Ryan's credentials. They had like 5 TVs set up, which made me laugh. They talked about his mustache. Al Snow said Joey Ryan was clean cut.
He did.
Clean cut. This in the same segment where they all said he looked like a 70s porn star. So they acknowledged that many fans thought Ryan was better than Alex Silva. Taz started knocking Ryan for, this is a quote, staying in character instead of looking like he was in a fight. There was this loud, thundering drum solo in the background, and they agreed that later they would meet in the ring and Joey would need to cut the promo of his life to save his job. No one said one word about whether he was any good at wrestling. Just want to throw that out there.
I think they may have.
They talked about his act, his look, his character. No one said, do you think he can win any matches?
I see.
The Boras was backstage with Robbie E, Mr. Anderson, Jeff Hardy, and Rob Van Dam. Fans were picking one of these 4 men to wrestle Devon later. Dixie came out. She said Slammiversary would be the 10-year anniversary of the company. They would make their first induction into the Hall of Fame. She did not say who this person was, but really there's only 2 people it could possibly be. And for storyline purposes, AJ makes the most sense, which I just realized. But, if you're going to put one person, if you must have a TNA Hall of Fame, and only one person can be in, you have AJ Styles or Jeff Jarrett, and that's that. So, she started talking about Brooke Hogan, how qualified she was to lead the Knockouts division, how smart and dedicated and driven and talented, and blah, blah, blah. Brooke came out, got a very passionate mixed reaction. It was actually much more positive than I thought it would be. And she talked a lot without saying anything. She thanked Dixie and the fans for the opportunity. She promised to work hard, and that was about it. She's better than Stephanie. Say that.
She is better than Stephanie, but that's not exactly.
No, that's very low praise.
Nothing has happened yet with her, so
no.
I can't say anything one way or the other. Nothing has happened, but I am still skeptical.
This could have been worse.
I'll just say this: in the brief time this occurred, it was still too much.
I see.
Yeah.
I was fine with this. Meanwhile, Kazarian and Daniels were watching the segment backstage, and they could not believe that Dixie had made this announcement of the Hall of Fame and Brooke Hogan, but had nothing to say about AJ. And you know how in WWE someone will finish talking, and then the camera will just stay on them for way too long? Mm-hmm. They kind of did the same thing here, only instead of not speaking and just staying there like doofuses, they just started muttering Dixie's name over and over again. Much better. They're running these history segments leading up to Slammiversary, great moments in TNA's first decade. This week, their great moment was the debut of Christian Cage.
Yeah.
A man who showed up, wrestled for a while, and then when he felt like it, left.
Won 2 titles while undefeated. Think about that.
Lost 2 titles while undefeated, too.
Yes.
So we had Devon versus the mystery opponent. Both Dudley boys, by the way, are in the best shape of their life. Taz noted this. He said Devon had reinvented his body. So Hardy won the fan vote.
I got to say one thing about this voting.
Okay.
For future, this is just a friendly tip to all wrestling companies for future reference. Whenever you're going to do the voting and you've got, say, 4 people that are up for the deal, I think, to me, it's best if you put them in 4 different rooms and you do the old Brady Bunch
split screen.
Having the 4 guys stand together, baby faces and heels alike, always makes them look like such dorks. And it was the exact same thing here. Jeff Hardy standing in the room with these dingbats, Robbie E acting like a fool. It just totally didn't work for me.
What did not work for me was they announced that they did not give final numbers, but they said Jeff Hardy got more than 40% of the vote, and so he won. So as they announced this, Hardy's got his makeup on, and if you haven't watched Impact for a while, his new gimmick is that he paints eyes on his eyelids. So that he stands there with his eyes closed, and he's got these big, giant cartoon eyes on, and it looks goofy. So he's standing there with his eyes closed, and they announce that he has won, and he doesn't move for several seconds. Then he slowly opens his eyes, he sighs deeply, and he slowly walks to the ring. He looked so depressed that he had to go wrestle. He was so bummed to have won this poll. So we got Robbie E we got Devon and Jeff Hardy. They wrestled for a few minutes, and Hardy hit the twist of fate and was going to go for the senton when Robbie E and Robbie T attacked them, and Devon and Jeff ganged up and cleared the ring. So I guess that's going to be a tag match.
That is, in fact, a tag match at the pay-per-view.
Well, there you go, then. Got a video of James Storm hanging out with his daughter and some horses out in the fields. Said nothing was better than being out in the country like this. And they went into the stables, and said he had let down the fans, and he had let down Dixie, and he hated letting people down. And talked about Roode for a bit, and then his little girl asked her daddy if he was going to go back to wrestling. Storm ordered, they turned the cameras off. This broke my heart. This was sad. So it was gut check time.
Where the fuck is Alex Silva?
I don't know.
He has not been on one single solitary television program since he won the Gut Check Challenge.
By the way, this is something else about Devon here. They were going to do, because they did the exact same thing last week, except instead of Jeff Hardy, it was Garrett, and they were having a match, and the Robbies attacked, and it was going to be Devon and Garrett. They've taken out Garrett and put in Jeff Hardy.
Actually, it might
Thumbs up move.
It might be a 6-man. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to look at the card. But anyway.
Regardless, putting Jeff in that match is an improvement.
Going back to Alex Silva. Dixie, I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Hopefully I'll have an answer tomorrow. Dixie, in her 2-hour State of the Union or whatever, made some sort of comment about how the Alex Silva thing was it was a last-minute change, or it was an unplanned change, or something like that. And there had been a story going around that he wasn't going to win, but Ric Flair said yes when he should have said no, and so they were forced to hire the guy.
So Flair went into business for himself.
That's what they claim. But if you actually watch that segment, Al Snow and Bruce Pritchard both ended up saying yes.
Yeah.
And you only need a majority. So whether Flair had said yes or no, the dude still would have been higher. So the story doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know. To me, even if it was unplanned and you weren't going to hire Alex Silva, but something went wrong or something went wacky or again, And keep in mind, this was not even a live show, so there is such a thing as editing, or there is such a thing as post-production, or there is such a thing as editing out the part where Flair changed his vote, if that's supposedly what happened. But anyway, if something happened and the guy won when he wasn't supposed to, even if you had no intentions of hiring the guy, he still should be on TV every week to sell the stipulation to make people care about it. Because Alex Silva not being on TV a single time, first off, it's preposterous. Second off, the fact that Alex Silva won and this fella here tonight did not win, it makes absolutely no sense, especially when the voting totals were significantly smaller for Alex Silva, who won. I'm not sure what's going on with Gut Check right now.
Yeah. So Ryan came down. They had the three judges in the ring. And Ryan said he was trending on Twitter, which I don't know. I bet that was not true. He just said it anyway. He also said 87% of the fans on their site had voted that he should get a job. So Pritchard said Ryan was a 10-year pro, and Ryan corrected him and said 12 years. Pritchard said that made it even easier to vote no. He did not explain this line of thought.
I presume his line of thought was, if you haven't made it anywhere in 12 years...
If this is the best you can do...
You suck.
Yeah. If you're doing this 12 years, then you have hit your peak.
Which is depressing here in my...
12th year?
It'd actually be my 14th if I were still active.
Yeah.
That's terrifying, by the way.
So, yeah, we're old. So, Al said he didn't like Joey or his attitude or the way he acted like he already had a job, but he thought Joey had potential, and so he was voting yes. They gave Joey one last chance to speak before Taz gave him a vote, and Joey's standing there fondling his own chest. And he said he was money. You don't leave money on the table. And Taz spoke, and he was very intense. He was very pissed off. This is the best Ryan could do. If he thought that was the promo to get him a job, he was out of his mind. He voted no. Ryan got in his face. They started shouting at each other. And finally, security pulled him away, and Taz told him to hit the road and come back when he was ready. It was a fun segment. I enjoyed it. And I can't believe I am saying this, but it was actually believable. But it's kind of goofy.
It's goofy in the sense that...
in many ways. It's
Joey
goofy.
Ryan has 10 times the potential of Alex Silva. And,
yes. Yes.
Unless this is some sort of storyline, I don't know. But
I got the impression that Joey Ryan and Taz are going to have a match.
Well, that's not going to happen.
I know that, but that's the impression they left here. There's something hokey about the whole thing, and not in a good way. Again, no one ever asked, can this fucker actually wrestle? It's just all about how good his promos are, how he carries himself. Nothing about how will he fare in this athletic competition.
Well, he lost. We had that answer for last week.
Quickly, too. Yeah, so there's something wacky and hokey and goofy about it, but yeah, I'm not sold on this yet.
I would be sold on it if there had been a winner who had been pushed.
Yeah.
We've had one loser and one winner that we never saw again. So, I don't know what's going on.
Main event was Daniels versus AJ. It was good. They've had better. Kazarian came out to distract AJ, but he fought him off, and he got the win with that moonsault into a reverse DDT he does.
Yep.
I don't think he's ever won a match with this before. So the heels beat him up. Angle ran down to make the save. They cut him off. They attempted to zip tie his arms to the ropes, but the zip ties kept breaking. They tried like 3 times, and finally Daniels just grabbed a belt and clonked Angle with it.
Someone called an intelligent audible.
Yes. I don't know. Either Kurt or Daniels. Either way. Someone said, this isn't working. I'll just hit him with the goddamn belt.
Mm-hmm.
Done. So they laid out AJ too. And Daniel starts to cut a promo about how they had shown photos, they had shown videos. Here is more proof that AJ is boinking Dixie. And they started to play a phone conversation taped between the two of them. AJ said he was coming into town. He wanted to make sure that he wouldn't be there. Dixie said, we can't let Serge know what's going on. And at this point, Dixie hit the announce desk furious. She ordered them to shut it off. She said a naughty word, they got cut off, and the show went off the air. Best show in wrestling.
Oh, yeah. My immediate conclusion upon seeing that final segment was the heels ruined Serge's surprise birthday party.
It's entirely possible. that you know it's going to be something. The payoff for this is going to be somehow, because they can explain the hotel room, I think. They can explain this like a birthday party. I don't know what they're going to do about the kissing photos, but the payoff for this is going to be the heels are totally wrong, and the secret that AJ and Dixie are hiding is going to be something wacky like that. So
I don't know if it'll be wacky. They've got to make it somewhat serious, I would think. I don't know. But it is. I can't wait to find out what it is.
Yeah.
Because I want to know how they explain. Well, let's just presume. I initially presumed that AJ had to be turning heel. Now I'm presuming that, in fact, this is an innocent relationship that the heels are trying to spin. So I'm fascinated to see how this plays out because I want to see what the big secret is that, in fact, was innocent. However, in the entire build-up to this innocent secret being revealed, both parties got virulently angry at it.
Whatever the secret is, they still want it to be a secret.
Yes.
So, up and down this show, what you have is stuff we are looking forward to. I can't wait to see what happens with the Joe Park and Bully Ray.
Yeah.
I can't
wait for that match.
I can't wait to see what AJ's secret is. I can't wait to see Roode and Sting. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Chris Sabin next. Well, now that he's pissed off. For 10 years of this company, I've been watching their shitty shows. And my only hope was that, dear God, please let this 2 hours go by without me wanting to shoot myself. Now, not only am I enjoying the 2 hours, I can't wait for the 2 hours next week.
What a difference 10 years makes.
The world has turned upside down.
Yeah.
WWE is awful. I'm hoping SmackDown and Raw get canceled. Impact rules.
It took 10 years, everybody.
And it could change in a week.
It could change in a heartbeat.
I am fickle.
Could change in a heartbeat. But right now, this show is so much better than Raw that's like, I don't even want to classify them as in being similar genres. One is shit, and one is professional wrestling. That is my conclusion. Oh my. Well, let's talk about Impact.
Right. Impact was, I don't know, not as good as in recent weeks. Not a horrible show. Still in the top 5% of all Impacts ever.
I thought it was a very good show.
Did you?
Yeah.
It opened with footage of last week, you recall, the show ended with Dixie Carter. They were playing a phone call, and she stormed the announce desk and had him end the show conveniently when it was supposed to end anyway. So this week, they show what happened immediately afterwards. Dixie was throwing a tantrum backstage, throwing shit around, cursing people out. She stormed into the production truck. She cursed out the director and everyone who worked there. None of them really knew what was going on. They just said someone had handed them a file and said, play this. So she threatened all their jobs. Then they cut to Dixie standing in the ring. She got a lot of boos because everyone thinks she's a married woman who is fucking AJ Styles, who's a married man. She was crying these big fake tears about how she felt sorry for Daniels and Kazarian because their lives were so empty they had to hurt other people. Then she said the worst written, phoniest, hokiest line of dialogue, perhaps in all of 2012. This is what this woman said. They threw a big rock in the middle of a serene pond, and the ripple effect is long and wide.
That's exactly what she said. I rewound it to confirm.
Only she said it, I can't say with a straight face, but she meant it. So thank God, right then, Kaz and Daniels came out. I should point out, by the way, that when she said this, everyone booed her more. It was so stupid. So Daniels and Kazarian interrupted. Daniels basically said, we all know you're fucking AJ. She started to slap him. He, for lack of a better word, shoved her down. It wasn't even that violent, really, but she ended up on the ground, and he was berating her. AJ ran down to make the save. A great moment happened as the heels, despite having a 2-on-1 advantage, still ran away. These are true cowards. They didn't run from a fair fight. They ran from a fair fight where they only had a +1 advantage. So AJ ran down, scared him off. Then out came Serge. Who, did they ever mention this is Dixie's husband?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. They just call him Serge one time, like we're supposed to automatically know who that is. Not even Serge Carter, just Serge. So he checked on his wife.
I like to think that it's spelled S-U-R-G-E.
Maybe, I don't know.
It's S-E-R-G, Vinny, you idiot.
How am I supposed to know how to spell a guy named Serge?
Because people in this world exist named Serge and Sergio, and none of them are spelled S-U-R-G-E.
Actually, I've heard more Sergio than Serges.
I'm sure his real name is Sergio.
All right. Well, that's a good answer then. Point being, he checked on his wife, made sure she was alive. He punched AJ Styles. AJ took this big, giant fish flop bump and then immediately popped up back to his feet. It was strange. So Serge stormed off. Dixie and AJ just left together quickly.
I got a couple things to say. First off, if anybody has Comcast, alert me if your recording is screwed up now 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Now, I know people are going to say this is my fault, but listen. Every other show I record, Raw, Ultimate Fighter, UFC on FX, every other show works just fine. Finding Bigfoot, fine. However, last week, Impact, it claimed it recorded 2 hours. It said 2 hours recorded. Yet, as soon as it started playing, it switched to 38 minutes, and then at 38 minutes, it died. This week, it was like 34 minutes. So, it's not that I have set it for 38 minutes. I checked. I have not. I've set it for the full 2 hours with a 15-minute overrun just in case. And now, 2 weeks in a row, only this show, the recording has been screwed up. So I had to watch on Daily Motion, which is a disaster. I love when people go like, hey, Bryan, just plug it into the TV with an HDMI cable. Okay, I did that. It's still a disaster. The quality isn't all that good. It plays a goddamn commercial before every single one. It's just, there's 8 parts. It's infuriating. So, if you're from Comcast, you're listening to this, get your goddamn act together. That's number one. Number two, as a fair man, I'm going to give this storyline the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to wait to see how it plays out. However, the storyline is beginning to jump the shark. The storyline is on the motorcycle, heading towards the ramp that is over the shark pool. That's where we're at with me right now. I think Chris Daniels is awesome. I think that Frankie Kazarian is an awesome sidekick. I think that AJ Styles is awesome. I can't say the same for Dixie. I'm sure she's a nice lady. But to me, the big issue is this. They opened up the show showing Dixie freaking out backstage and threatening to fire the production crew because they put this tape on the air. So, why hasn't she fired Chris Daniels and Kazarian? Shouldn't that be number one? Shouldn't that be the number one thing she does is fire these two guys that are holding her hostage and have now assaulted her? That's number one. Number two, I presume, and this is merely a presumption, I could be wrong, I presume that in the end, we're going to find out that, in fact, AJ and Dixie are not fucking. That the heels are wrong, and they will get egg in their face, or whatever the end of the storyline is going to be. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are fucking, and AJ and Dixie are going to turn heel and be a tandem. But I just presume from watching the television and seeing the booking of AJ and everything like that, I just presume that in the end it's like some sort of big misunderstanding, correct? Is that what you get out of this?
Yes, I get the impression that AJ and Dixie have a secret, but it's not that they're fucking.
Okay, so if that's the case, why hasn't Serge been filled in?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if AJ knows that these heels are idiots, and Dixie knows, well, these heels are just idiots, number one, why is AJ so upset? Why is Dixie so upset? And why hasn't Dixie told her husband? Moreover, why hasn't Serge apparently done anything since this whole thing began? His first response was to slap AJ on the show this week. Has he not called AJ? Has he not spoken to his wife? I'm having a hard time suspending my disbelief at this point in the storyline. But maybe it'll all work out in the end. I'm going to give it some time.
So, they had this whole angle, went to commercial, they came back, and they played at least 50% of it over again.
Great!
I know.
I actually have no problem with that whatsoever.
No, this is a huge positive.
Yes.
It's important. They want to make sure, A, that everyone saw it, and B, those who saw it remember it.
And it's a good thing they did, because my DVR also had a big glitch when Serge punched AJ.
The first time Serge walked in the ring and he walked out is what we saw. Like, he turned around.
And to be honest, it was better the version I saw with the screw-up, because when I actually saw Serge Carter hit AJ Styles and AJ took a bump, I was appalled.
Yeah. I just like he took this big, giant, wacky bump, but then had to act all tough and stand up.
Well, to be fair, it did kind of come across, they didn't do a good job explaining it, but I think what was supposed to happen was Serge swung, and AJ was supposed to, duck out of the way, and he fell down. I don't think it was supposed to be that Serge decked AJ Styles, but the announcers did a poor job explaining this, meaning they didn't explain it at all. And if you only saw it briefly, you would think that he punched AJ and AJ took a bump.
I'm pretty sure AJ was holding his jaw. I think you're wrong on that one.
Well, maybe I am.
So we had a match. It was Crimson versus Austin Aries. Before the match, Aries is about to enter. He and Joe had a meeting I didn't understand. I thought it was a confrontation, but the announcer said that they were friends again now, so whatever.
Well, apparently not.
Yeah. So they're doing this match, and Aries does his comeback, and Joe comes down and trips him. Aries lands face first on the apron. It sounds safer, or was safer than it sounds, and he rolled into the ring, and Crimson pinned him. Crimson starts cutting this promo, bragging about his undefeated streak. He lists how many days he has been undefeated, then says that's way longer than that Goldberg guy.
I think that I'm not a big fan of Crimson in the ring, but Crimson's character I actually have fallen in love with. The reason it works is because nobody gives a shit about his win streak. That's actually, believe it or not, that's part of the charm of this character. He's been undefeated in a business where nobody cares, and he's beaten nothing but a bunch of geeks. And it's an undefeated streak that nobody cares about, but he thinks he's Goldberg. And he is undefeated. It's not as impressive as it's. I mean, they always call him the undefeated Crimson, the undefeated Crimson. It literally, swear to God, is the least effective 1 year plus undefeated streak in the history of wrestling.
I would argue that Ryback's undefeated streak in 2 months has done more for him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Than Crimson's undefeated streak has
but
for him.
Crimson is so happy to be undefeated.
Yes.
He's overjoyed by it. And I'm kind of sad because based on this promo, I presume he's having his undefeated streak ended on Sunday.
He issued an open challenge for the pay-per-view, and it would lead you to think someone's going to show up and beat him and get a bigger win than in fact that he ever has.
I presume it'll be like Chris Masters, since he got a dark match.
There's a lot of Hogan on the show. We got a quick promo from Hulk saying basically that he did not know Brooke was going to work for this company until she walked out last week, and that she didn't know what she had gotten herself into.
They're playing this up in real life, that supposedly she was signed without Hogan's knowledge.
I try to avoid all real-life knowledge of the Hogan family.
Absolutely hilarious.
So then Brooke the Giant met with all the babyface knockouts. She just towered over them. She walked in, told them all how much she liked them, how great athletes they were, how pretty they were. Told them that she was booking them in a four-way for the number one contender spot. She also said she was looking to get them opportunities outside of wrestling, and she announced that she had booked Velvet in a Montgomery Gentry video.
No. Montgomery Gentry had requested Velvet.
I see.
Which is actually very important to what I'm
sure.
about to say here.
Because the end of this was the girls all had a big group hug, except Mickey, who was simmered, clearly envious of Velvet's opportunity here in the video. But then she relented and she joined in the hug too.
This is classic pro wrestling, like real life pro wrestling, where somebody gets hired for $1 million for 5 dates, and all of the wrestlers resent the guy.
Yeah.
When in reality, it ain't his fault.
They offered him money, he accepted.
You should be angry at the company. So here's Mickey doing the same thing. Montgomery Gentry asked for Velvet, but Mickey is so unhappy because she's supposed to be a country star that she's taking it out on Velvet.
She should be taking it out on Montgomery Gentry.
I enjoyed every bit of this except for one thing. I'm sure Brooke is a nice girl, and I don't even think this is really her fault, but she comes off so completely insincere
Really?
at all times. I thought so.
Huh.
When she kind of just was standing there like, oh, I think you guys are just so great, and you're so strong, and you're so sexy, or whatever. I'm just like, dude, whatever. You're a Hogan.
I would not say insincere. I would say goofy. But she's done 2 appearances now. She is way, way better than I thought she would be. Except for being 10 feet tall.
She's
not
fine
her fault.
In her role.
Yeah.
I think she's... From watching this, she'd be way better off as a heel. That's all I'm saying.
That's probably true. But from watching her on the various reality shows that the family has done, I was expecting much, much worse than we've
but you
gotten.
know what? I've seen a lot of Brooke on Hogan Knows Best, and I thought she came off 10 times more likable on that show than on this Impact. I don't even know why. I used to watch her on that show, and I'm like, you're the only normal person here. You're the only person in this family that I would actually hang out with because you don't seem like you're absolutely completely crazy. And then on this show, just the constant kissing up to all the girls, just, to me, I don't know, it just struck me as, I don't believe you. I don't believe you for 1 second.
Speaking of people you don't believe for 1 second, Hulk Hogan came to the ring. He said that there's a pay-per-view Sunday, by the way. God damn it. He said no matter who won the world title match at the pay-per-view...
Actually, I'm excited for the pay-per-view.
I am more... well... If it must be a pay-per-view, it should be this one. I'm much more excited for this one than I am for No Way Out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Regardless, he said no matter who won the world title match at the pay-per-view, they would be defending the title live on Impact next week. At this announcement, out came the champion Bobby Roode.
He was awesome.
Bobby Roode was the fucking man here. He chewed out Hogan for ruining his championship celebration. He chewed him out for putting him in a lumberjack match against Sting. Then he put him in a 6-man. They had another title match next week. Hulk kept trying to talk, and Roode kept cutting him off and putting him in his place. Bobby Roode put Hulk Hogan in his place. That's tremendous. He said Hogan was not worthy to lace up his boots. He grabbed him by the shirt, threatened to manhandle. Well, he was manhandling him. Out came Sting. They had a brawl. Frankly, it was pretty crappy, and Roode bailed. Bobby Roode's performance was fantastic here.
Bobby Roode, I think, as much as I thought it was stupid to build up that Bobby Roode-James Storm match so big in James Storm's hometown and then not have the guy win, I think that Bobby Roode, having been champion as long as he has, he's still missing something. But I think if you keep the title on him, I think if you kept that title on him for like 18 months, yes, 18 months, I think you'd really have something with Bobby Roode. I mean, they got something with him now.
It would,
but I think that people would take him significantly more seriously as like not just a TNA star, but like a star in pro wrestling. If he just held that title, just didn't lose for a long time.
The biggest problem, and this is not his fault, but if you watch this show, the biggest storyline going on is AJ and Dixie, which means that by definition, Roode is a second-tier star. And Lord knows they're not the only wrestling company doing that to their champions these days. But anyway, there really was not much point to this segment.
You're kind of right, except still, the AJ, all that stuff was like... Bobby Roode and Sting's angle still closed out the show.
It did.
It wasn't like you're finishing the show with Michael fucking Cole and John Cena and barbecue sauce.
This is better than that. So the 4 women who were booked in the 4-way match, they're all going to go wrestle each other. They were backstage, right by the entranceway, all hanging out, stretching and laughing. That was weird. We got a very quick Joe Park Esq promo. He said he was seeking truth and justice at the pay-per-view, and he might get both. So we had the 4-way. It was Mickey versus Tara versus Tessmacher versus Velvet.
Live 4-way.
With Velvet Sky.
Yeah.
Really? When she was not involved, it was good enough. But then sometimes she would get involved, and it would be worse. To a large degree.
It was a train wreck.
By the way, I had no idea about this either. Not only is Roode the longest TNA champion of all time, and Aries the longest X Division champion of all time, but apparently Gale is also the longest reigning knockout champion of all time.
Good.
I will confess I have no idea when or where she won that.
Well, it was a long time ago.
Apparently. Ancient history. They did a wacky spot where, like, one girl put someone in a Boston Crab, and then someone put that girl in a Dragon Sleeper, and so Brooke's the last one, and she's going to put someone in a submission hold, and she grabs a side headlock.
Yeah.
And she thought she might win with this, like she was Carlos Newton.
Someone thought this was a good idea for a spot.
Yeah.
People cheered, but it was stupid.
It was very stupid.
Are you going to put a hold on someone, and then someone's going to put a submission on you, and you're not going to let go of the first person to defend yourself?
Hold, yes. So, finish, Mickey hit her spin kick on Velvet, and she had her chance to go for the pin, but she opted to stand over her and taunt instead. The announcers scolded her for this, and then she turned around and Brooke hit her with her wacky move, put her right on her face, and Brooke got the win. So it's Brooke versus Gale at the pay-per-view. And they were sure to point out that Brooke has beaten her many times before.
I love that we have two Brookes.
Oh, we do, don't we?
This would not be allowed in WWE.
No. Remember when there was like 8 guys named Harris in TNA? or Chris.
Chris.
It was Chris. There was a Chris Harris, but anyway.
Chris Daniels, Chris Harris, Chris Abyss.
Chris Sabin.
And
then you had Ron and Don Harris, too.
Yeah.
Bad times. Or the Jeff versus Jeff feud.
I got a question for you.
Right.
If Matt Morgan signs with WWE, are they going to pull that direct auto insurance commercial?
I hope not.
I think that would be really funny. It does just say Matt Morgan, wrestling star.
Yeah.
It doesn't specify.
We had Bully Ray quickly plugging the contract signing. For the third time, they re-aired the Dixie angle. Again, good. He got a quick shot of Hogan chewing out AJ over the phone. This is great. Hogan is convinced that Daniels and Kazarian are telling the truth. But he has a job to do. So he's sternly telling AJ, your personal shit is not my problem. You got a job to do. Get back here for the main event. And he hangs up the phone and he says, son of a bitch.
Yes.
It's great.
Hogan's in charge now, he said.
We had the contract signing for the Bully Ray Joe Park Esq match. Bull Wrestlers in the ring to host the affair. So Bully Ray came out, gets his full entrance. And then Joe Park comes out. He, of course, has no music, no video, no pyro. He just comes out to the ring in his suit, looking a little overwhelmed. They had the contract there for the match, but Bully Ray ripped it up. He said that was a standard contract. He had another contract he wanted Joe to sign. It cleared Bully Ray of all of his actions at Slammiversary, so if he broke Joe's arm or his leg or his neck, he cannot be held accountable. Joe refused to sign this contract. This drew massive cheers. So Ray spat on him and ordered him to sign. The fans chanted, rip it up. Joe was angry. He said he was not signing for Bully Ray. He was not signing for the people.
Shouldn't they want to see the match?
Apparently not. They want to see someone stand up to Bully Ray and not do what he says.
I think they were just confused.
I don't know. I think they wanted to see someone not... They wanted to see someone not get bullied by Bully Ray. That's what happened here. Bully bullied him into signing the contract. Except I'm not sure he ever did he? Because he was about to, he explained, he was doing it for his brother Abyss.
No, he signed it, I think.
He signed? Okay.
I think so.
At the moment he signed, who should appear on the screen but Chris? You know, Abyss. He told his brother that he had warned him not to get too close to the fire or he would get burned. He also said that Bully Ray had claimed to have left him for dead, but clearly he was not dead. Bully Ray was very, very, very unhappy to see Abyss alive and well. Bully Ray is so awesome. So awesome. So he vowed to be at the pay-per-view, and he disappeared. Joe started calling for him to come back. Ray hit him in the back one time and walked out. This is fucking awesome. And the only other thing I have to say is, and we see this every week, but I think he's losing weight every week, Bully Ray is skinny now.
He's pretty trim.
He's doing good. Segment ruled.
I think this is the best angle in a long time.
Just say all your life.
I'm not going to say all my life, but maybe in years. I was actually watching this, and about midway through, I was like, what the hell ever happened to Abyss? Because, like, he came back, and he made a veiled threat, and then he vanished. Where's he been? Why did they even bring him back if he was going to disappear again? Then he appeared on the screen. And you can go back, everybody. I'm not a Johnny-come-lately here, if that's even the proper term. I have been a fan of Abyss's promos for a long time. I thought he was a great promo. And he is so awesome at playing Abyss, and he is so awesome at playing Joe Park. And keep in mind, this was a live show, and so the taped video of Abyss, Joe Park had to have his lines memorized virtually perfectly so that the fake for the Abyss video had to respond to a live man.
Uh-huh.
It's not edited. It was fabulous. And I can only presume that they must have, well, there's two things. They either have a guy who's going to make a cameo as Abyss during the match, or they're going to do a deal where they brawl backstage, and somehow in the melee, Abyss attacks Bully or something. I don't know what they're going to do, but this to me is worth my pay-per-view buy to find out where they're going on Sunday, because somehow Sunday they're essentially promising that Abyss and Joe Park are going to be in the same place at the same time. And I can't wait to see how they do it. I love this storyline. I absolutely love this storyline.
They showed Taz and Joey Ryan yelling at each other from last week. Taz said he had not changed his mind. He told Joey to get better. Then they showed what happened after they went off the air. They made sure to point out that neither announcer had seen this clip.
Vinny, you're out of town. You're not around Tuesday?
I'm not going to be here Monday or Tuesday.
Really?
Yeah.
But Sunday?
Yes. What's happening?
I was just thinking.
Wondering if I'll be near the impact zone?
I was wondering if, you might be in the area. You are tall and kind of fat.
Yeah. We actually do have similar body types. Judging only from seeing him in a suit, I'm pretty sure he's fatter than me right now.
Yeah, but I'll bet if I put you in a jumpsuit with a mask and a wig,
you could do worse.
I'll bet you could pull it off.
You could do worse.
It'd have to be a real quick cameo.
You could also do better, yes.
I'm pretty sure that you could do the running charge into the corner, but I'm not confident about the black hole slam on Bully Ray.
Because it's Bully Ray, I would be confident.
All right.
He would get up for me.
And he is lighter.
And then he would hit me really hard, because that's what he does, but...
You better not be kayfabing me, you motherfucker. If I find out you're playing Abyss and you haven't told me, it's going to be hell to pay.
This is going to lead to some awesome photoshops, is all I can say.
I've already have some of you as Joe Park.
That's true. That's true.
Which actually is virtually a spitting image.
No, he's much smarter than me.
Well, that's true.
He's a lawyer.
But you are able to look just as befuddled, naturally.
Yeah.
You know, for all the talk about that TNA lawsuit and Ric Flair and everything like that, I mean this in the nicest way possible, but fuck Ric Flair. They should be going after Abyss. Why is WWE not going after Abyss? This man is multi-talented. I can't think of anybody else. Maybe the Big Show could have pulled this off if he'd been masked for 10 years. I think probably Big Show could have pulled this off. But there aren't a lot of people that I've ever seen that could pull this off like this. Anyway.
You know the other amazing thing about this? We have seen, I think every time Tensai has appeared on WWE television, he's gotten an Albert chance.
Mm-hmm.
When Joe Park Esquire is in the ring or in the crowd, I don't think one time I've heard anyone call him Abyss.
That is one thing that I, honest to God, think is one of the benefits of always taping at the Impact Zone. You draw the same people every single week, and think about for a second how hardcore you must be to attend Impact at every single taping. You've got to be like the biggest diehard fan. And to me, what this is they run at the same building in front of the same fans, and the fans are totally into playing along. You're telling me those fans don't know it's the same guy? They all do. But they're going to play along because they love the storyline. So, great! This is a storyline where I think if you were like WWE and you toured the nation and you went to a different city every single week, you're going to get that city where everybody decides they're going to let the world know these two dudes are the same guy. But you're not going to get that running the Impact Zone every week. So actually, that's a big benefit to not getting out of that building right now.
So anyway, the gut check thing. Taz said he did not change his mind. And this showed what happened after that segment ended. The announcer said they did not know what they were about to see. So what we saw was Joey Ryan running down the entire segment in the show. This place sucks. They don't know what they're doing. They're fools to let me walk away. As he's ranting, up walks Al Snow. Al was very cross with Ryan. He did not want to hear what Ryan had said on television or with or without the cameras. Ryan was not backing down. He said, "You're pathetic. This place is pathetic." And then they left together.
Well, he dragged him out of the building.
Yes, but he dragged him out. He followed him out of the building as well.
I think you may be reading more into it, but maybe not.
Could be wrong, but that's the impression I got. They're in cahoots.
Well, they both do have the mustache.
That was my actual first thought. Al had a line last week that he joked he called Joey Ryan his love child. Maybe it is.
I never thought of that.
This may be Al Snow's love child.
Maybe his real name is Joe Snow.
Ooh, yeah. They would be a pretty good tag team. Think about this.
You say so.
We had Robbie E versus Devon. They told us that Robbie E...
If Al Snow is responsible for agenting the women's matches, then I beg for him to get back in the ring. So someone else can do it.
They told us that Robbie E has hired a tanning coach. There are so many great skits to be done with Robbie E, and they haven't done any of them. It's starting to make me mad at this point. Like when they said he had the belt and he wore it out to the clubs. Why do we never get a shot of that? That would be so great. So Madison was out on the stage watching, so apparently her secret crush is one of these four dudes. I say four because Garrett Bischoff was there in Devon's corner, and it's funny because the Jersey Shore guys, they got the cardigan sweater gimmick going. So Rob Terry is out there in a cardigan sweater, and he's yelling at Garrett Bischoff, who is bare-chested. That is funny. So Devon hooks a small package, but the ref is with Garrett. So Robbie T, all 6'5", 300 and some very stiff pounds of him, slowly gets into the ring. He slowly turns over the small package. He slowly leaves the ring. He's so slow he gets caught, and the ref is chewing him out. So Garrett gets in the ring. He turns the small package back over. Everyone leaves, and the ref turns around and counts 3, so Devon wins. This was the small package from hell. Neither man could break it.
I think this would have been a little better edited, but it was fine.
I just like that this small package was so tight that neither man could escape.
It's the unbreakable small package.
They may still be in this human knot. More Hogan talking. He chastised Bobby Roode for interrupting him earlier, and at this point, Mr. Anderson interrupted. So out came RVD, out came Hardy. Hulk, God bless him, clearly losing his voice at this point in the show. He had been talking a lot. So long story short, he books these three men in a three-way for the pay-per-view, with the winner getting the title shot live on Impact next week. And this promo was the last thing he could do. He was getting all he could out of his voice, pushing so hard, straining, working to get through to make it to the end. And he gets to the end and he squeaks out, "I'm done!" And he throws the mic down.
Yes.
Hulk was pretty cool in this show, now that I think about it. And we had the main event. Kazarian, Daniels, and Roode versus Angle and AJ and Sting. AJ had left with Dixie, and despite Hogan's orders, had not yet returned to the building.
I like Hulkin.
So it was 3-on-2 advantage heels, and Bobby Roode was still afraid to get in the ring, so it was still a pretty fair fight. Match was okay. They cut off Sting for a while. They beat him up so long, actually I got a little bored. So they posted angle. They're triple teaming Sting. AJ finally arrives to make the save. Babyfaces all run wild, and the finish was, in fact, as noted, Sting beating Bobby Roode with a scorpion. So that was that. It still felt like, even though the challenger pinned the champion for the pay-per-view main event, the focus of this match was AJ not being there and then showing up late, and still going after Cass and Daniels. Thus my earlier comment, but that was Impact. And like I say, on the Impact scale, this is in the top 5% of all time.
Another fine show. Yeah. Another fine show. How's it going, everybody? Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer here on Wrestling Observer Radio. It is June 10th, 2012, here at figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. We have a lot of news to talk about today, not the least of which is the TNA Slammiversary show, which came to us from Dixie's home state of Texas. The 10-year anniversary of TNA. They are, in fact, not only still in business, but this was the best show they've done in a while, in front of a great crowd, and just a great night to be TNA for once. So, thumbs up.
Yeah, definitely thumbs up. It was really good. It was a good presentation. They looked more major league than they have looked probably since the London TV tapings.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very good show. It was I don't think it was the show of the year or anything like that. I think that there have been WWE shows that have been better, and but it was very good and very professional and not pretty straightforward as far as everything went. I mean, the tag match was excellent. That was really a great match. I mean, AJ Styles has just been on fire with his work of late, and Kurt, we put Kurt on a pay-per-view, and you pretty much got it. And Samoa Joe and Austin Aries really opened the show with a bang. That was a great match too. Main event was I was disappointed in the main event. I mean, as far as it was a short match. Bobby Roode stalled a lot. Sting was not injured. I thought maybe Sting was injured because of the way that they worked the match, but I was told that wasn't the case. It was just they had a much better match on the TV, but again, there was nothing that I would call bad on the card. I mean, the Joseph Park match with Bully Ray was set up to be a bad match, if you know what I mean, because of the nature of Joseph Park had to work like he didn't know how to work, so that's what it was. And I mean, in that sense, it was what it should have been. But it was, nobody called it the worst match, although technically it was terrible. But, there was I don't know. I mean, probably the James Storm thing was better on paper than it turned out to be, but it was still, it was a nice surprise and everything. He came out and he beat Crimson, ended the streak just as well. Time for that streak to be over, that's for sure. And we had 2 title changes with Kurt Angle and AJ Styles winning the tag team title, and we had Miss Tessmacher in Texas winning the Knockouts title, which was fine. I mean, their match last month was better, but it was fine.
All right, let's run down the show here. I don't know if you got the exact attendance, but I know that as of this afternoon, they were apparently about 500 shy of selling the place out, and I don't know if they ended up selling all the tickets by the time the show went off the air, but looked great on television, looked packed.
Yeah, it was 5,500 people, which is, for them, it's a good crowd. And, they reacted really good in most of the way. I mean, it was the crowd really helped the show a lot. It had a great look. And, again, they made a lot of noise. I mean, they were on fire the first couple of matches and strong, pretty much most of the whole show.
The show opened with the Samoa Joe. Actually, it opened with Hulk Hogan coming out to announce that the Samoa Joe match was, in fact, going to be for Austin Aries' X Division title. And he said he was going to go old school. They were going to have some more announcements later on. And these guys had probably about as good a match as you can have in 12 minutes. And a lot of great spots. They pretty much created the finish of their ROH title match from years ago, except Samoa Joe kicked out of the 450. And the finish saw Austin Aries lift Samoa Joe up and hit him with the scariest brainbuster I have seen in a long time. And amazingly, Joe was fine, but it looked like he was killed. And Austin Aries retained the title, and later on in the show, pretty much did a promo saying he wanted to be the man now. So I guess if the next pay-per-view...
He didn't directly challenge Bobby Roode, but they really should... You know, it was a good promo to build that match.
I figure if the next show is what they consider their B pay-per-view, then those guys will probably headline Aries versus Roode. But we'll see.
That's hard. It's hard for me to imagine that as a pay-per-view main event, even though
they've had a lot worse pay-per-view main events on B shows. I
mean, the match itself will be good. It would be great, probably, actually, but just doesn't feel like a pay-per-view main event. I would rather do that. You know, if I was booking, I would do that as a TV match because it's an awesome television match, and God knows, I mean...
Don't remind me. Mr. Anderson.
I got to say, when they had a three-way, so Bobby Roode's defending the title on Thursday, and I didn't like the idea that they announced that ahead of time because it kind of takes something away from the pay-per-view when you go, well, the winner's defending it for free on Thursday. But yeah, you had Jeff Hardy, RVD, and Mr. Anderson. And you know, Jeff Hardy and RVD have had a bunch of title shots, and Mr. Anderson really hasn't. So you can say, well, it's kind of his turn. I mean, even though he's had a few matches with Bobby Roode. But of those three, you're telling me if I'm in a company obsessed with ratings, and I'm going to headline my TV show with Bobby Roode defending, and I have three choices, and those are the three, I tell you what, it's not a hard choice to make, but number two's not so hard either.
No.
And no, I mean, I can separate 1, 2, and 3 in that list pretty easily. I mean, Jeff Hardy obviously is the choice, and, you know, I mean, Bobby Roode won the program, so to speak, but it was done in a manner where you could bring it back, and certainly for television. RVD did lose in the ladder match, and he did lose to Bully Ray. But if he won here, it'd be fine. I don't want to complain because there really wasn't a lot bad on the show, and that wasn't even a bad match either. But
actually, I was surprised with the quality of that match, to be honest.
No, it was pretty much what I expected. Maybe it was a good match, but yeah, Mr. Anderson, I don't know.
Well, at least they've told the fans you should have bought the pay-per-view instead of waiting for the free match on television. That's how I can look at the...
I guess. But I would rather it be Austin Aries because then at least when people watching on TV...
Yeah, maybe we'll get Austin Aries in a couple of weeks. Maybe they'll build up to a little better than just one promo.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's what they could do, though, okay, is go in there and do a TV match and have Austin Aries beat him.
Well, you've already promised a match for Thursday.
Yeah, well... You know, I mean, I know. Well, if that was the case, you should do Jeff Hardy.
I don't have a good answer for you. I would have picked a different third man than Mr. Anderson if that were even possible in a three-way with only 3 men involved. Kid Cash and Hernandez.
I guess you could have put anyone in the world in there and it would have been just as good.
We had Kid Cash and Hernandez, which was put on the card since Hernandez is, of course, from Texas. And
that way?
I guess that's what I figured. I can't think of any other good reason.
Too, but they no one ever said that. They just wheeled those two guys out who haven't been on TV in months.
Well, Hernandez won.
They had, except for 30 seconds of the match, it was pretty good, and the crowd was hot for it.
If you take Kid Cash as a heel and put him against a big baby face, he's going to have a decent match, and that's what they had here. They did do the big Hernandez dive spot over the top to the outside, which hopefully he never does again. Because he's way too big.
Never like this because he could have killed he landed right on his shoulder. That could have been a real bad one.
Yeah.
Now wait a minute, okay? I just got a question. You know, again, did I miss the Hernandez babyface turn?
You're asking the wrong guy because there's many babyface turns I think I've missed.
Okay, well
this could have been back during the old regime where he turned babyface in one of 8,000 segments on a single show.
Okay, well, here's the thing.
Wait a second. No, I guess go on.
Okay. If you and I don't, even if they did it and we don't remember it, then it wasn't done well enough.
Well, the babyface turn was probably when they announced that he was from Texas.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's strong enough when you're on national television to make that. I mean, it's fine. The match was good, but Jesus Christ, do something on television. Do anything. I mean, they were lucky that they had a great crowd because this match, before a lot of crowds, and nothing against the work, but a lot of crowds seeing two heels going out there who haven't been on TV, they would have just gone to sleep. And the guys could have chopped the hell out of each other, which they did, and they still would have gone to sleep. So they were very lucky that they had a good crowd here for this one, because it helped them. And the match, the match was basically good, other than there was this spot where Hernandez threw a clothesline and hit Kid Cash, and Kid Cash had already had it in his mind that he wasn't being hit by that clothesline, even though he was. So he just pretended he wasn't hit and kept moving forward and jumped to the top rope. Mm-hmm. And then they did another spot. The very next spot, I don't even know what it was.
It was attempted to be a Hurricane Rana, but it went awry. Yeah, went awry.
And then after that, they got but they got right back into it, and the dive was amazing. And if he's going to do that, he should do it on some guy like Matt Morgan or someone who can get in the way, and there's more leeway or something, or maybe on two people, because he went way to the right and landed right on his shoulder, right on that right shoulder.
We had Garrett and Devon against Robbie E and Robbie T, and Garrett is no good in the ring. I'm sorry.
Nor is Robbie T.
Oh, my. Robbie T actually looked like a professional next to Garrett, just completely lost.
Professional wall.
And then, hey, at least professional something. So they got heat on Garrett forever, and he finally tagged Devon, who made a great comeback, especially after watching the first 3/4 of this match, and ended up with the good guys getting the win. TV champion, or actually it's not TV champion anymore, Devon is. But anyway, Robbie E got pinned.
Devon pinned Robbie with a spine buster after Garrett. Didn't Garrett jump off the apron with a crossbody on
I think he did. I was trying to ignore him as much as possible.
Yeah.
But
crowd was into it, though.
They were
into it. They were into it when Devon made the hot tag.
Yes, Devon is a great babyface, and
he works good. He's worked really hard. He's got in shape.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Yeah.
Although he needs to never ever dance with Garrett Bischoff again.
Yeah, the dancing didn't do it for me either. But I was just happy the match didn't suck.
Oh, I thought it sucked. Well, I can't say it sucked.
No, it didn't suck. I mean,
Garrett Bischoff sucked.
Garrett Bischoff and Robbie T sucked. Yes. The first couple of minutes there was some, cringeworthy stuff. Yeah.
We had RVD, Mr. Anderson, and Jeff Hardy, with the winner getting the title shot against the winner of Roode and Sting on Thursday. And I don't know, maybe I had low standards going in, but I was impressed with this match. I thought they did significantly better than I expected. I guess I kind of expected Anderson to kind of drag it down, or RVD to be unmotivated, but they had a big crowd there, and everybody worked hard, and they actually did a lot of cool three-way spots, and as noted, Mr. Anderson got the win, which I was gobsmacked by, but a good professional wrestling three-way match here on this pay-per-view.
I don't know. Jeff Hardy usually works hard, and yeah, RVD's been hit and miss, but he's been more hit lately. And I mean, Anderson doesn't suck or anything. There's just something about him. And I when he won, it was like, that was the one thing. I mean, I got a lot of the show, but I didn't get that. I mean, I just watched it, and it's like, okay, somebody decided.
Well, maybe they figure better to get it out of the way on TV than have to do a pay-per-view program.
You never have to do it. You never have to do it.
This is TNA. They have to do this kind of thing.
There's a bunch of guys on whatever, The match was exactly what I expected it to be. Maybe slightly better, but
it was definitely better.
It was all right. It was good. The crowd was pretty much into it to a degree. I mean, I know they had trouble because they're all three supposed to be baby faces, and so they didn't kind of know how to react all the time. But it was all right. It was good.
Crimson and James Storm, as you noted on paper, this was a great idea. They have Crimson talking about how he's undefeated and open challenge, and here it is in Texas.
I don't know if you know, but the way they did it is like open challenge to anyone, any Maverick, any
cowboy,
any Ranger, and any cowboy, and then Cowboy James Storm. I mean, I really thought that was quite clever.
Yeah.
I don't know that people saw it coming. But when Storm came out, I mean, I was really expecting a big pop, and it was a pop. I don't want to say it wasn't the return of the guy who you're going to main event Bound for Glory with.
Well, he's been out a month.
What?
He's only been out a month, and no one believed he was going to retire.
What?
Nobody believed he was going to retire.
True, but it's also a surprise, and you're supposed to get the surprise pop when you do a surprise.
Yeah, I think if he'd been out for more than a month, I think it would have been more effective. I think the whole thing ended up fine. I mean, as you noted,
it was fine, but I mean, I'm just saying it wasn't. It was fine, and I mean, the thing is on paper, you know, you want this match over in 2 minutes, and I think they went 2 minutes and 10 seconds, so it was like pretty much perfect in that way, and you know, just beats him clean, gets it over with, and celebrates, and so you know that aspect. And when he did win, they did celebrate pretty good. I think the people were kind of happy at that point. But he did not feel like the guy you main event Bound for Glory with.
They got a lot of time.
What?
They got a lot of time.
You know, that's good and bad. The last time they had a lot of time. And
besides, listen, if he ain't over like that guy, well, that's their fault for building him up for his big championship match in his hometown at the biggest show of the year and then not having him win.
Well,
they made their bed.
Yeah, you're right.
I will say
they got time, but you know what? I mean, no matter what, to me, they got to go with it, and they got to go all the way with it, and he still has to win the title.
Well, good luck convincing people this time.
I just think that you can't do this angle this way, and then just do that thing where like WWE, and it's just like you just change your mind, and because if you do on this one, then he really is dead forever.
But it doesn't matter if they change their mind on this one. At this point, you've now had the biggest show of the year and the second biggest show of the year, where everybody was led to believe you were going to have the big title change, and in both cases, they didn't do it. So if they don't get a better-than-average buy rate, well, they'll get a better-than-average for Bound for Glory. But if they don't get significantly...
But people will forget...
No, they won't. Not this time. I guarantee they won't this time.
They'll largely forget those two if he wins. If he wins, they'll be fine.
If he wins. But what I'm saying is, if the buy rate is not significantly better than you would expect for Bound for Glory, it's because of that reason. Because twice now, it has been the day that the guy wins, and they pulled it both times.
Well, I think that the buy rate for Bound for Glory is going to depend more on what's going on in the state of the company than that. I mean, if they go in there and if they ride momentum and they give you a series, I mean, good shows usually don't make a difference, but they seem to have some momentum. And if they continue to ride the momentum and Bound for Glory comes, I think they should do well on the show, regardless of all that. If they don't, then yeah, if they don't have momentum, yeah, that stuff will hurt them for sure.
I will say that I liked the whole idea of this whole thing, but I will say that I had become a giant fan of Crimson, the braggart with the worst win streak in the history of professional wrestling.
Yeah, but it was time to end it. I mean, you had to go somewhere with it.
I thought it just started to pick up.
Yeah, not me. I'd had it with it,
I thought it was starting to get great. This guy actually believed that he was better than Goldberg, and he was out there talking about it every week, how he was now...
Yeah, well, I think that was the problem, actually, that you just said it, because I think that people actually believed it was going to be Goldberg, or wanted to believe it, because when he was out there, they were chanting Goldberg.
I had actually not even considered that possibility, probably because
they
I
were
knew
chanting Goldberg, and then when Storm came out, it was like probably almost a disappointment to people.
How about that? I hadn't even thought of that, but probably because I knew there was no chance of Goldberg coming to TV.
Well, you knew there was no chance, but they're watching TV, and he mentions Goldberg on TV, and you're a wrestling fan, and if you think as a wrestling fan you would think that means Goldberg.
And him and Goldberg tweeted back and forth a couple of days ago.
Was it a couple days ago?
I believe so.
I mean, I remember when they did it a couple months ago.
Oh, no, there was one a couple of days ago as well, where Bill invited him to the gym to put on some gloves or something, or bring his headgear or something like that.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, there was one a couple of days ago.
Well, I mean, unless Bill really is coming in, but if Bill was coming in, then he needed to stay undefeated.
Yeah, well.
And I don't think Bill's coming in.
I would not expect it.
What?
I wouldn't expect it.
Why was Bill doing inviting this guy? Bill's 40, whatever.
Well, Bill probably was watching TV, and someone probably texted him and said, there's this young kid who thinks he's better than you, and so Bill's just like, well, fine, come to the gym and bring your headgear, you geek.
45 years old.
I'm sure he'd still put on his stuff.
Oh, God. I mean, he's 45 years old. He doesn't need to be fighting no more.
I'm pretty sure
that... messing with Crimson of all people. I'm
pretty sure Crimson's not going to his gym with his headgear.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, it's like Bill needs to, give it up. I mean, it's like that's... I'm sure Bill was tough in his day, and I'm sure he's tougher than most 45-year-olds, but Jesus Christ, you don't go in the frickin' gym and want to do a boxing match when you're 45 years old. I mean, I remember Billy Jack Haynes, and Billy Jack Haynes was a tough guy. When he was 45 and he got in he tried to do some boxing, and I mean, he just got his head beat in. I mean, you can't do this stuff when you're that age. I mean, that's just how it is.
I'm pretty sure he was fucking around.
Okay, whatever.
That would be my guess.
Yeah.
All right, so then we had the Dixie deal, Why don't you tell us about Dixie, and I'll see if I can find the exact tweet from Goldberg here.
Which was the Hall of Fame thing? Or
where were we on the show here? This would be the Dixie Carter Hall of Fame deal.
Okay, well, she just gave a speech, and everyone came out, and she thanked Jeff and Jerry Jarrett, and I think she thanked Spike TV, and she thanked her dad, and talked about, we're here in 10 years, and we've been growing internationally, and first inductee into the Hall of Fame, and they had everybody come out, and the one thing that I thought that I kind of didn't like, in the sense that it did make the company look, I don't want to say it made it look bad, but everyone on the card came out, but and Tara, I think, was the only person, and then, the agents like D'Lo, and I saw D'Lo and Al Snow, but to me, I think that it's like, if it's that big of a deal, you should have brought in, like, other people on the roster just to be in that scene, if it's this big celebration and everything. But that's a minor thing, and they announced Sting as the first Hall of Famer, and it appeared Sting didn't know, and he certainly didn't have a speech plan, and certainly had no idea what he was saying, but it was fine anyway, and they announced that Bound for Glory, that they would have the actual induction ceremony for Sting, and as far as who you're going to do, Sting was a pretty safe choice, and probably, if it was, I would say, like, legitimately, the guy, it probably should be Bob Carter, because it wasn't for Bob, selling all that land and all that stuff he sold to finance this thing, to the tune of, God knows, they were $55 million in the red at one point. I'll tell you what, TNA is the perfect example. It's interesting that TNA and WWE are both the perfect example of one thing, and it's like, I sure hope that Lorenzo doesn't have a frickin' daughter. That's all I got to say, because I don't care how much money you have. This is the truth, unless you're like someone who doesn't care about their kids. But I don't care how much money you have. If you got a daughter and she wants something, all of your business sense goes out the window, and that's what happened here. But I will say that, they're having some really good shows. But yeah, he should be the the guy in the Hall of Fame, and Kevin K of Spike TV, because if it wasn't for Kevin K making the call to put them on, they'd have been dead at that point. Those are the two people who saved the company. And Jeff Jarrett did found the company, and if it would have been him, that would have been fine. And Hogan, I think Hogan would have been fine. Actually, in many ways, to me, Hogan actually would have been the best choice, in the sense of, if you're going to start a Hall of Fame, who better to start it with than Hogan? But the second best choice in that regard was probably Sting, because, Sting is the second biggest star that they have. And, he's been there for going on 6.5 years, believe it or not. Unbelievable. And, and the other thing is that Sting is not in any pro wrestling Hall of Fames. He's not in the Amsterdam one. He's not in any of them. So if nothing else,
no wonder he was caught off guard.
What?
No wonder he was caught off guard.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he wasn't thinking about it. I know, like, when there was talk of him going in the WWE Hall of Fame a couple of years ago, I remember, like, some friends of his, and they're just going, like, believe me, Sting could care less about that. It's just like, he could care less. He's not even, anything like that. So, he may actually care about this, though, because he did spend 6.5 years with the company, and he didn't need to, and, I give him credit for his age. He moves around pretty good. He didn't have a good match tonight, but he had an okay match, but, he's had some decent matches of late, and he doesn't move around like he's 53. I give him credit for that. He's still trains and everything.
Got a Goldberg update here.
Okay.
Somebody had tweeted him, Goldberg, that joke Crimson just basically called you out on Impact. You aren't going to take that, are you? And he responded, who? And then later, he retweeted somebody who wrote, Crimson doesn't faze Goldberg because Goldberg ate chumps like him during his streak every freaking night. And then later, Goldberg responded to someone by saying, he can meet me at my gym, sparring, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. My advice is to bring headgear and his insurance card.
Okay, whatever.
I'm sure he's just fucking around.
I'm just glad we didn't have Twitter like in the old days when all these like workers would be talking about shoots and things like that.
I think it would have been awesome.
Some of them would. It actually would have been worse then.
Yeah, or better depending how you look at it. Your entertainment value. All right, let's get back to the show here. Gail Kim and Tessmacher. I saw their match last month, and then I saw this match. And this match, Miss Tessmacher was so off that I presumed she was hurt early. And apparently she was just nervous. But she had a terrible night. And she ended up winning the title. Everybody went nuts when she actually won the belt. But boy, oh boy, this was... I hate to use the term ugly with two beautiful women in the ring.
I didn't think it was bad, but no. But I mean, their last match I thought was good. This match I thought was average.
I thought this was way off.
They were off a little bit. I mean, there was a lot of herky jerky stuff, but
yes,
I thought Gail kind of kept it together. There certainly were one or two spots not so good, but
at least nobody got hurt.
I've seen a lot of worse women's matches than this.
Bully Ray and Joe Park, I'm sorry. Hate to disparage his last name. So the gimmick here is that Joe Park, I guess at this point in the storyline, Joe Park in real life is the brother of Abyss. He is not the same guy, at least so far. I guess we'll see where the storyline goes. But the gimmick is he doesn't know how to wrestle. So he came out in a tracksuit, and he couldn't figure out how to get in the ring. He stumbled around a lot. He fell down a few times. They actually recreated a spot I've seen in so many independent matches I can't even tell you, where one guy bonks in the other guy and he takes a bump.
That was so even in the realm of trying to do a bad match, that spot looked terrible.
Yes, and it was preposterous. But I thought it was just going to be Joe Park gets beat up the entire match, and then like Abyss comes out on the apron or something like that, or the ramp or whatever, and distracts Bully, and then Joe Park, bam, hits a black hole slam and pins him or something like that. Didn't quite do that. They had Joe Park roll out of the ring. He went under the ring. Out of the ring came Abyss, who was played by one of the Team 3D students, a really big guy who is not ready for prime time. But he was able to stand there. He was able to kind of deliver a chokeslam through a table, and then he immediately went back under the ring again. And then Joe Park slid back out in his tracksuit and crawled over, made the pin, and got the win over Bully Ray. So this storyline must continue.
Yeah.
I don't know. Joe Park did a hell of a job being a bad worker.
Yeah, he did. No, I mean, like I said, like it was a crappy wrestling match, but it was a pretty good for what it was supposed to be. It was pretty good. And at the beginning, at the very beginning, when Joe Park came out, the people were also very cold. I mean, it was like I was really surprised. I thought there was going to be this like cult thing, and it seemed like maybe like 1/5 of the crowd kind of did have that feel, and the rest of the crowd just didn't know what to make of it at all. And then the match went on, and it wasn't really like the match had heat, but Bully Ray did this. He's just awesome as far as a guy out there being a heel, getting heat. They weren't like, it wasn't like the match had heat, but they were just chanting like, New York sucks, Yankee sucks, things like that,
I thought a lot of it though was Joe Park's facials. I thought he was awesome.
No, I mean I know, but because the match did end up having, how would I say? It wasn't like it was great heat, but they did react like they cared about the match after a while, and certainly by the end. And then the finish was what the finish was, and really careful to not shoot the Abyss at all. I mean, it was from behind. It was very clear that they were trying to hide something.
Yeah.
But again, this match it was never supposed to be a good match. It wasn't a good match. It was all about furthering the storyline, and I think it accomplished what it was supposed to.
I just throughout this entire storyline, I've just been amazed that here's Chris Park, who's been a masked wrestler for well over a decade, and now he's doing this gimmick where he's playing his own brother, and my God, this guy is great playing his own brother.
Yeah,
I'm just
he is.
astonished.
He's fantastic.
And his facials in the ring is like the bumbling baby face that doesn't really know how to work.
I mean, the thing is,
outstanding.
They absolutely are for the character, but you really can't do that character. It's not like he can be doing this character in a year.
No, they've got
to. The bumbling brother thing is it's great for right now, but it's just weird, that he can do that. But it's weird because he can do that because it's like a character that, it's not, no matter how good he does it, it's a short shelf life character, not so.
I just figured that at the end of it, it's like, it's got to have an ending to the story, and I figure it's got to be that this is all some sort of ruse all along, and we end up getting the match. I was told that it's that the as far as where it's going, as far as they want to keep both Joseph Park and Abyss. In the sense of, and you will in the end know that they're the same person. Sure,
but it's like. And I don't know that I like this, but it's the idea of, Bruce Banner and the Incredible Hulk type of a deal.
Or McFoley and Mankind?
Well, not really McFoley and Mankind, because Mick Foley never pretended to be an incompetent wrestler or pretended to be a lawyer or anything. It's more...
Jekyll and Hyde.
Actually, Jekyll and Hyde was what it's formulated to be exactly. It was Jekyll and Hyde, yeah.
Well, that actually makes sense. So when he does not realize he's the monster, he doesn't remember how to wrestle.
Yeah, maybe like Herschel Walker.
What?
Herschel Walker was very famous before he became a professional fighter and after he was a football player in that interim for having dual personalities.
I see.
He would be like, the mild-mannered Herschel Walker, and then other times he would like do some very bad things. When he was the other Herschel Walker.
I see.
And there were two other Herschel Walkers too, and I don't even remember what they did.
I'm just waiting for the day in the Joe Park match where he suddenly.
You know what I figured out? I didn't even realize this. That's the whole secret of Herschel Walker. The other Herschel Walker probably ate.
I hadn't thought of that.
And the one Herschel Walker that doesn't eat breakfast or anything and then goes out and trains.
You better explain this because 90% of the people listening have no idea what you're talking about in terms of Herschel's diet.
But the thing is that Herschel Walker's a phenomenon. But I know people who, like when he would go on the road, that roomed with him, like Luke Rockhold, and they swore to me that all those Herschel Walker stories are true. As far Herschel Walker eats like no food. He'll eat like a little bit of bread and maybe chicken soup. And then he'll go out and he'll train for like hours, and no normal person can do this.
So the other Herschel.
No meat, and he has that body that looks like, how many 48-year-olds look like that?
Zero?
Well, there's some jacked up ones who do, but
Herschel Jekyll. Anyway,
like that.
I want the match where Joe Park is in the ring and all of a sudden he snaps and he does the entire Abyss comeback, including the torture rack drop. That's your big reveal at the end.
I actually thought we might get that tonight.
I did too.
That's just as well we didn't.
Yeah, now they can hold that off till later.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's fine. I like the storyline.
It's great.
Other than I don't know about Bully Ray spitting in the air so much, but he catches it. So
well, that's the old. I know Moondog Moretti did that, and a bunch of guys have done that. And
yeah, who was the first one to do that? Was Moondog the first to do that?
I don't know. I should ask him actually. I'm sure he saw it somewhere.
I'll bet you know who I bet was the first to do that? But you should ask him. I'll bet it was Lonnie Main, because that's what Moondog copied so much of the stuff off of.
I'll find out.
I watched a lot of Lonnie Main, and I don't remember that spot. But I do remember this spot. I'm going to tell you a gross Lonnie Main story. Lonnie Main was in bed and with a woman and spit in the air, okay? And she had to put the covers over her head so it wouldn't, land on her face. And then he farted in her face. Okay? So that's a Lonnie Main story.
Thank you.
Okay, well, it had to do with the spit.
I see.
It all tied together.
So anyway, Hulk Hogan came out, everybody. And he introduced Christian, who... Christian apparently was, great backstage with everybody and personable and all that, but my God, did he look like he didn't want to be out here in front of these people.
That's so funny. The minute I saw him, I go, because I knew the story that he didn't want to do it, but it was like, God, do you need to make it obvious to everybody?
Yeah, he was miserable.
God, and then when he was done, my thought when he was done was just like, why'd you even bother? It's like just do your interviews backstage and act like they sent you to prison for a day. You know what I mean? But geez, and then to go out there and those people. Like, I think most people kind of saw through it, but there were enough who didn't know, and they were just, welcome back. And, you could just see he didn't want to hear any of that. And then, please come back. That was even worse. And he's just out there just.
And boy, was he careful about saying absolutely nothing positive about the company itself.
Yeah, all he did was thank the fans.
Yep.
Yeah, give yourselves a standing ovation. They counted down the 3 biggest moments in TNA, and what was number 3? Number 3 was AJ winning the first X Division title.
AJ winning, and then
number 2 was Hogan signing, and then number 1 was this one, which was Sting coming back on Impact, which again was another one for Sting because let's face it, the biggest moments to me in TNA history, realistically, would be Kurt's arrival and Hogan's arrival. Sting's arrival wasn't nearly as big as either of those two.
Especially since he'd been there in the early years, and they tried to claim this was his, And
Sting had done some of the pay-per-views before that one anyway.
Yeah.
It was only he signed a contract. He'd come in for a couple of shots here and there before that, but it was a big deal at the time. They built it up for a long time and everything. That it was the first. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like a big special Impact or something. But yeah, maybe it was a time slot change. Maybe I don't remember. I just remember it was like a big deal when he came. But comparing it to when Hogan came, there's no comparison.
We had the tag match, Daniels-Kazarian against AJ and Angle for the tag titles, which was an awesome match. AJ and Kurt won the titles, and let me tell you what I'm going to remember even more than the quality of this match, and that is I learned something here tonight. Many times, especially in WWE, the tag titles don't mean anything. And on great rare occasions, they'll actually, very briefly, for angle purposes, put the titles on main eventers. And it's like, you all of a sudden think, okay, well, now maybe the titles are going to mean something. Of course they never do. But to me, what was even more valuable for these titles than the fact that Kurt Angle and AJ Styles won them, and they're now the TNA Tag Team Champions, was how happy Kurt Angle was to have won the TNA Tag Team titles. He had the biggest celebration. He was on his knees like he'd won a gold medal. He strapped it around his waist. He hugged AJ. This man was so happy to win these titles that made the titles mean like 10 times more than the fact that these guys just won them. It was awesome.
Well, everything made the titles mean more because you had stars in a big angle.
Yeah, but the key is the stars cared when they won them.
That's true, too.
My God, did Kurt care. It was like he'd won the WWE title for the first time.
Look, there's a lot of things you can say about Kurt, and he's completely out of his mind. But
he's amazing at wrestling.
He's a fantastic professional wrestler, and he was tonight. It's like the moves he did. It's like I've seen him do all those moves before. Other than he did doubles German suplex, where he German suplexed both guys at the same time. That was a pretty cool move, but his timing of when he did certain things at certain times was so good tonight. Not that it isn't on other nights, but it really was. And AJ Styles, he is so freaking motivated right now, and he's got an excellent timing in the ring anyway. But they're really good, and Daniels is a great opponent for them, and I tell you what, man, Kazarian was right with those guys.
Kazarian has had a career renaissance since getting together with Daniels.
Yeah, nobody thinks, nobody talks about him being a great worker. Not that they talk about him being a bad worker or nothing like that. But you just don't. He's not in that conversation. But he was in there, and he wasn't a sore thumb, and he wasn't like a weak link. He was in this match, and he was as good as everybody else was. This was a really great match. It was 4 stars plus. Fantastic finish, I thought. Not like super creative, but AJ does this springboard shooting star press onto Daniels on the floor, and it's like you can do that move, but he did it like like too many times guys will do the move and it's at the wrong time, and it's like people, are going to pop for it. It's a spectacular move anyway. But it was like so perfectly timed, is exactly when to do it. And then Kazarian goes for that Omori driver, and Angle turns into the ankle lock, and you know that Kazarian's going to make the ropes, and he taps. It was so great because he's like right at the ropes, and you know he's making the ropes, and he didn't. So and I mean the whole body of the match. I mean, there's nothing bad I can say about this match.
It was awesome. This was awesome.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I mean, on a show with Samoa Joe and Aries, which was really a good match, to have a match that to me was significantly better than that's saying something.
Oh yeah, this was fabulous. And then Bobby Roode and Sting, they had their world title match. It was all right. It was fine. It wasn't
not only one world title match.
Well,
I mean, it was to me it's a very weak main event for a pay-per-view. It was 11-minute match. Roode stalled a lot early. I mean, I watched that match and I'm going, okay, Sting's hurt. And then I asked after, and it's like, no, Sting's fine. It's like, wow, he just didn't do a lot. I mean, it didn't suck. I mean, Bobby Roode stalled, but it was stalling in a professional way. And then, they did their usual Ric Flair Sting spots that Bobby Roode always does with Sting. And then the big spot was Sting got him in the Scorpion Deathlock on the announcer's table, and Bobby Roode tapped out, but referee Bryan Hebner, you know what? We didn't talk about Madison Rayne. We got to bring up Madison Rayne in a second. But anyway,
have I given you my thought on who Madison Rayne is smitten with?
You tell me. I have my thought too.
It's Earl Hebner.
Well, you and I are thinking exactly alike. That's what I'm thinking too.
I hope that doesn't mean they change it, because I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I think so, because I think that they want you to think it's Robbie E, Robbie T, or Garrett Bischoff.
Every time Earl's out there.
Right, exactly. I think it's Earl Hebner too.
Yeah.
So you know what that means? Another TV wedding.
Great.
And Earl can have his heart attack.
Oh, no.
I hope they don't do that.
No.
I hope it doesn't go that far.
We don't need that.
No. But anyway, so Bryan Hebner explained to Sting that, in fact, it's not Falls Count Anywhere, and you got to get in the ring. And so while that's going on, Bobby Roode's laying out there hurting, and he finds James Storm's case of beer that James
That's
left.
right.
What?
That's right.
James should not have left that beer there. He had no business leaving it there in the middle. So he grabs the whole case, grabs one bottle out. Sting gets it from him. Sting's about to... Well, he tries to hit Sting with it, and Sting ducks or whatever, and Sting gets it. Sting's about to hit him. Bryan Hebner takes it away from Sting, gets rid of it, but Bobby takes another beer bottle out of that case, hits Sting in the head, goes for the pin, and I was sure Sting's kicking out of this. It's only 10 minutes in, and they didn't do anything. And he didn't kick out. And it was over. And Sting got to beat him up afterwards and all that.
I did love how Sting blatantly bladed right during the 3 count as it's focused on his head. Perfect timing there, Sting.
Yeah. Then Sting came back and rammed him into the lighting stand and gave him a scorpion death drop off of the stage onto this crash pad. And the people did react, but I tell you what, the way that was shot, not good. Because you could just see that it was just so sad.
The thing that was the worst thing about it was, it was very obvious that they went through this table on like a crash pad or whatever that was covered, but then Sting smashes his head on a lighting stand and his back of his head's gashed open.
Yeah.
That sucked.
I know.
Apparently he was fine, but that was not good.
Yeah. But really good show.
Yeah, this was a hell of a show, everybody. So this is now 3 live shows in a row that have been a hit. So
4.
I thought we had 2 live shows and then this one.
2 live shows. Yeah, but the pay-per-view last month. That was a good show.
I'm talking 3 live in a row.
What?
3 live in a row.
Okay, but the pay-per-view last month, I thought from a wrestling pay-per-view, I thought the matches on the pay-per-view last month were even better than the matches here. This was a more professional show because of the setting, but that last pay-per-view was great.
They are on a roll. And unfortunately now we have to watch Raw tomorrow.
Oh man, I'm liking TNA. I'm looking forward to Thursdays. It's like they're more fun than WWE.
It's not even in the same universe.
I'm not even saying they're more fun than WWE. They're way more fun than WWE.
Yeah. They are. This show Impact is so much better than Raw right now that it's kind of sad.
It's better than SmackDown too.
Well, I haven't watched SmackDown in 3 weeks.
Well,
I need
it's
to watch
better
it
than
tonight.
SmackDown.
But I take your word for it.
Impact is conceivably better than SmackDown, and it's worlds better than Raw. I won't say that this pay-per-view is better than Extreme Rules, though. But it was in the because they're both great, and I don't want to downgrade either one of them.
Ultimate X Division title match. Aries versus Zima Ion versus Chris Sabin. First part of it was some very ultra choreographed connect the dots wrestling. It was very good if you like that kind of thing. And then Sabin unfortunately went flying over the top rope, landed on the floor, not involving the cables at all, just a typical X Division spot, and he grabbed his knee. He got back in briefly and then bailed and never returned. Hopefully he did not tear his ACL again. That would suck. Actually,
it's not looking good, and it was his other knee.
That sucks either way. Bad, bad, bad news. So that left, obviously, Aries and Ion. They slowed down here, thankfully, and it actually is still pretty good. Ion went up top. Aries hit a Rana off the cables while Ion was standing on the top rope. Hit his other moves, hit the Brainbuster, and scrambled over and won the belt. It was a good opener, except for the fact that a talented guy got hurt, and that always sucks.
I feel really bad for Sabin because he
just got back.
Well, it seems like he's never been the same since he came back. Like he's kind of seems like he's gun shy, and he's trying to be careful. And I just know from personal experience when wrestling, whenever you're trying really hard to be careful and not get hurt, that's always when you end up getting hurt.
Yeah,
you know, and it's always something dumb.
And this is, I mean,
really, at the end of this match, when Austin Aries is hanging upside down from the cables, and then, like, he let go of his feet, and he was hanging on one arm like a monkey and let go and landed, like, on one leg.
Yeah.
That's when you expect a man to blow out his knee.
Yeah.
But no, he's totally fine. And then Sabin does just something he does in every match, you know, the backdrop, and you turn into a...
And Ion was there to catch him. You know,
yeah.
This is something he does probably half his matches.
It was nobody screwing up anything. It was just he went over, and it wasn't even his bad knee. It was his good knee. And... I don't know, maybe just worried about landing on the bad knee and overcompensating or whatever it was. It absolutely sucks, and I don't know. I guess we'll see, but not looking good.
So Aries cut a promo. He said that there was nobody in the company he could not beat. He was not satisfied with the X title. Hogan came out, and they went to commercial. And they came back. Hulk Hogan proceeded to put Austin Aries over like I've never heard him put someone over before.
He said he was the best wrestler ever, I think.
He said for all he had done, all the records he had set, all the titles he had won, he had never had goosebumps like he did watching Austin Aries wrestle. Forget pound for pound, he said, you're the best thing I've ever seen in this ring.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wonder if he meant the TNA ring or every ring.
It sounded, I mean, it's Hogan and, you know, it's a TV show and everything, but he sounded sincere and convincing. So Aries was not going to argue with him. He said he deserved to be in the main event. Hogan said, I'll make a deal with you. I can't have one guy having 2 titles. He didn't say why not. But he said, I will put you in the main event of the next pay-per-view in a world championship match, but you have to forfeit the X title first. So then if you win, you'll be world champion. If you lose, you will walk away with nothing. Aries didn't like this idea. The crowd did not like this idea. Hogan agreed to give him a week to make his decision, and they shook hands. This is a big deal. And, you know, Aries has been the guy having great matches and great promos in every show, and this was, you know, this is the beginning of saying, we are going to make him a main event guy now.
I'm not going to complain about the booking. I'm just going to complain about the Hogan character. What a dick! You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just put over this guy as, like, the best guy that he'd ever seen in this business. And then he's like, you're going to have to vacate the title because I can't have a guy having 2 titles. Well, why don't you let him fight for the title? And if he wins, then he vacates the other title.
Sure.
Why does he have to vacate the title first? Maybe he's still bitter about the Hogan Warrior.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Warrior never should have gotten a shot without having to.
He should have had to vacate that Intercontinental title first before WrestleMania 6.
That's right.
That actually explains a lot when I think about it. But this was great to put over Austin Aries.
Yes.
Todd's not going to be happy, though, that the match is happening this
soon
at this pay-per-view. He's going to be very upset next Thursday on the show.
Joe Park Esquire was in what passes for TNA Catering. It's a picnic table. He was bragging about his pay-per-view win. Maybe bragging is the wrong word. But he was telling about it.
He was ecstatic.
Yeah. So Bully Ray arrived. Everyone else scattered. Joe was scared. Ray demanded to know where Abyss was. He threw Joe's lunch away, and he vowed that he would not rest until he found Abyss.
He was strangely mad at Abyss and not Joe Park, who actually pinned him.
Well, Abyss is the one who put him through a table.
That is true.
He had Devon versus Hernandez for the TV title. The very first spot in the match, Devon's coming down to the ring. He's got his belt on, he's slapping hands, his music is playing, and here comes Hernandez with the over-the-top rope Undertaker dive. That got everyone's attention. Had mostly a pretty good match.
It's fine.
Better than either guy's pay-per-view match. There was one point where Hernandez tried to climb the top rope, and I don't know what happened. It was like the turnbuckle pad was too big for his feet. Regardless, it took him a long time to get up there, and Devon got tired of waiting, and he walked over, and eventually Devon won with a spine buster. It was good. We eavesdropped on an AJ and Dixie conversation. AJ wanted to reveal the secret. Dixie said people would get hurt. She told him not to get hurt in his match and said they would talk later.
So obviously next week it's a big angle.
Yeah. As was made patently clear at the end of the show. We had the Bound for Glory Series Gauntlet match. Okay, a couple things. There were 11 men in this match. They explained at the very end that the 12th person in the tournament would be the loser of the Roode-Anderson match tonight, which makes sense, but they could have made it more clear. So there's a bunch of guys. They're going to have a bunch of matches. There's a wacky, complicated point system. They never got into it here. They told you to go to the website to look it up. And they said the winner of this match got 20 points. So let's see. I tried to write down the names, and frankly, I think I missed someone. But there's Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles, Rob Van Dam, Magnus, Bully Ray, Kurt Angle, Pope, Daniels, Robbie E, Samoa Joe, and James Storm, and then as it turns out, Anderson. So that's 12. I got them all. It came down to Storm and Joe, and they had a actually pretty short finish, and Storm super kicked him off the apron to win. And then Storm cut a great promo about how he had gone home to work on his ranch. His daughter asked him if he was going back to wrestling, and he explained, we saw this on TV in the past month, and it seemed like she was heartbroken that he might leave her, and he explained that really, she wanted him back in the ring. And he knew what wrestling meant to him, but not to his little girl. He thanked the fans for their support. He said he came back to be world champion. He hoped and prayed that Bobby Roode would still be world champion after he won this Bound for Glory series, because then whooping his ass would be a bonus. Everyone loved him. He came off like a giant star, and every week, Michael Cole will say that someone got a big win and is building momentum, and it's always bullshit. This felt like a big win, and James Storm is building momentum.
Well, from here, everybody faces everybody else in one match. So, unlike last year where they absolutely fucked everything up, this year, everyone is guaranteed to have the same number of matches. So it's not like Bobby Roode has 18 matches and Bully Ray has 4.
Yes.
Everybody has the same number. There's also something I remember that they did last year that actually was good last year, which is the matches are going to take place on television, and they're also going to take place at live events, and the cameras are going to be there. So in other words, if TNA is coming to your town, you have the opportunity to see a match that does, in fact, matter.
Yes.
That's a big positive. Now, the point system is a little bit wacky, but I'm sure they'll explain it on television next week. But basically what this was today, since everybody is facing everybody else, that means that James Storm essentially starts the tournament with a 20-point head start.
Yeah.
So for those of you, and we were actually trying to figure out how the hell does this make any sense yesterday. That's how it makes sense. He now is ahead of everybody by 20 points, and now the contest begins.
Yeah, and the most you can get in after this point in any one match is 10 points. So basically he got 2 bonus wins, essentially.
I don't know if anyone's pointed this out yet, but James Storm appears to have lost like 15 pounds since he left the last time. He's tan, he looks in much better shape, and hopefully he stays that way.
Immediately afterwards, we went backstage for a very quick Robert Roode interview. He was standing in shadows for no particular reason. He said that Storm was like everybody else, jealous of his success. He was not afraid of James Storm, and tonight he was going to deal with Mr. Anderson. Angle confronted AJ Styles. Oh, there was a point in the Battle Royal, by the way. There, a few things we should note. One, Pope is back. They explained he'd been making television and movies, including apparently Dark Knight Rises.
Actually, I think that's true. He's like a bodyguard or something, if I recall correctly.
Cool. Rob Van Dam looked bad. He was very clumsy and awkward. And there was a point in here where when Daniels hit the ring, AJ Styles went crazy and attacked him, but then he went to throw an enziguri and Daniels ducked, and AJ hit Angle, his own tag team partner. Which leads us to this segment where Angle confronted AJ in the locker room, told him to get his head on straight. He said a naughty word that got bleeped. AJ promised to get focused, and they hugged. We had Madison Rayne versus Tessmacher. If they can't call her Brooke, they need to get her a new name immediately.
By the way, let me say something here before we go on, because I want to say something about Bound for Glory, because Lance and I were debating this all day long on the show today. So, I don't know what they're going to do, but Lance's whole deal was, if you're going to do a road to the championship, then there shouldn't be any championship matches in the midst of the tournament. And I said, well, you can't really have these... You can't have 3 months' worth of pay-per-views with no championship match. They're just not going to do that. And Todd and I had been arguing about Austin Aries, and it appears, I could be wrong, but they could do a deal. We've got the July, the August, and the September pay-per-view before Bound for Glory. So Austin Aries is not in the Bound for Glory tournament because he's getting the title shot at the next show. So, if you do Austin Aries and Bobby Roode, and whoever wins, whatever happens, happens, and you book a rematch for the next month, and then in September, you do, for example, the finals of the Bound for Glory tournament to determine who gets the title shot at the pay-per-view, there's 3 months, and you haven't used any other challengers, and the 2 world title matches were world title matches that actually technically was booked before the Bound for Glory series even started. It all does make sense. I don't know if they're going to do that, but that would at least eliminate the issue of having to choose new champions or new challengers for the champion for 3 months in the middle of this tournament building up to a match.
You're right. I would be stunned if they did a pay-per-view without Roode defending his title.
Well, they very well could you could do it.
They could.
On the last one before Bound for Glory. He sits out while you have the 2 top guys, the 2 top point getters, fight to see who gets it, and he's down there at ringside or something like that. Yeah. If you've been building it up for 3 months, you can do a 2-month build to a singles match with a title not on the line. It'll be fine.
So we had Madison Rayne versus Brooke Tessmacher. I have seen worse matches. Brooke got her new finisher. She needs a new name. I mentioned that. But I believe it's the old Eye of the Hurricane thing that, well, Hurricane used to do. It's a spinning clothesline deal. And she won, and she posed with her belt, and there was a fat guy in the front row flexing his man boobs in celebration, and that was that. Speaking of Brooke.
Oh, God.
We had the worst thing on the show.
This was horrible.
Gail met with Brooke Hogan. The gist of this was mostly fine. Gail wanted to be top contender. Brooke wanted to book a 4-way. Gail said, I get a rematch. Brooke said, yes, but you don't get to pick when that happens. Go take a vacation. Fine. The problem is, they were not content to have just one camera off to the side showing both of them. They kept cutting to a close-up camera of Brooke with reaction shots as she showed, theoretically, emotion to what Gail was saying. And here's the problem, besides how stupid and phony this was, Brooke Hogan is a goddamn terrible actress. This sucked. Who's typing now?
I'm saving the show, you geek.
That's important.
Yes.
Talk about how badly Brooke sucked.
I did before he even started. This was horrible.
All right.
Brooke actually reminds me remarkably of Dixie Carter in the whole facial expression category. She does exhibit more life.
Yeah, but it's too far the other direction where she over emotes everything.
Yeah, and it just came off like, could she possibly have been any more bitchy? Like, I know that she's the baby face and Gail is the heel, and I guess we're supposed to feel that, like, you know, we're supposed to be kind of, it's cool because the baby face did something mean to the heel or whatever, but it's like, I don't know. Like, Gail really didn't do anything to deserve this. You know what I mean? It's just Brooke was being mean for the sake of being mean. I don't know. I just thought this didn't come off well.
Well, you're right about that.
You know, the babyfaces are supposed to be, like, tough but fair. You know? Mm-hmm. Maybe, you know, if Gail would have done something and then Brooke's like, well, you know what? You're going to take a 2-week vacation for that or a 2-month vacation or whatever. But Gail didn't do anything. She lost her title at the pay-per-view, and she deserves a rematch. And Brooke's like, you get a rematch, but you don't get it immediately, and I decide when you're going to get it, and I'm not going to give it to you, so go home. And I was like, wow. That's not nice at all.
No, it wasn't.
Nor fair. I should never feel sorry for the heels. That's what I'm trying to say.
Anderson reminded us that Roode had hit him with a beer bottle a few weeks ago. Tonight he would get his revenge. We had the main event.
I got to talk about this for a second.
All right.
I don't want to be too mean to Mr. Anderson because I think it's pretty clear that he's been having some problems in his life. I don't know what. I have no idea what's going on. I know that he was gone for a while and it was personal issues, whatever that means. I don't know what that means, but it's enough to keep him off television, so something that is not positive must have happened in his life. So I don't want to be too hard on the guy. But with that said, you're the main event of a nationally televised live wrestling show in front of 1.5 million people fighting for the championship of the world. And he has given up on bleaching his hair. It's just dark now. And he didn't even bother to run down and get like a $15 spray tan or something. He went into the ring. He just looked like he didn't care, and he was pale, and he'd done nothing with his hair, and he looked older than Sting. And I don't know. It's just, you know, when they did the three-way, and it's like the winner of this is getting a championship match on Impact, and you're sitting there thinking, okay, it's probably going to be Jeff Hardy, because everybody loves Jeff Hardy, and you can, you know, try and pop a rating on these live shows so that Impact can maybe go live permanently, because they got to bring the rating up, or it's just going to go back to taped, and, you know, live and tape really doesn't matter. And in fact, it's a benefit that Ultimate Fighter is actually going back to a tape format. And 99 times out of 100, live versus tape doesn't matter. But you know what? The guys backstage at Impact are so much more excited about the product now that it's live. Because to them, the show all of a sudden feels important. It's not like they show up and they have to tape 4 days worth of TV and then they go to some house shows or go home or whatever. Every week they got to be there. They're live on national television, and it's motivating to these guys. So there are benefits to this show being live. So I thought, well, if you're going to do this, then Jeff Hardy wins and you try and pop a rating and you try and build this thing up and everything like that. And they chose Anderson, and it was like, really? You chose Mr. Anderson against Bobby Roode for live television this week. All right, fine. You know, Mr. Anderson, you got chosen, so go in there and show me what you got. And he gave me this. Pale, just looked like he didn't care. He was slow. It wasn't like a bad match, but there was absolutely nothing good about this match whatsoever, really. Well,
the one thing I will say
actually,
about it...
I was wrong. You're right.
It was paced and put together, so it came off like a very good TV main event.
The one best thing about it is that Bobby Roode beat him clean.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because it was Mr. Anderson. If it had been Rob Van Dam or Jeff Hardy or anybody else, I argued this on the show today, actually, with Todd. You can have a heel win clean over a top babyface via submission. That is okay. Now, you can't do it every single week, because if you do it every single week, the guy's going to turn babyface awfully quick. But every now and then, you've got to show the people that this guy may be a dick. He may cheat 90% of the time. He may do this and he may do that. He may use a beer bottle. He may do whatever. But he's still a dangerous world champion caliber opponent that can win clean via submission with his hold. I think it's very important to show that sometimes. And I thought this was great, this finish.
We saw another AJ-Dixie meeting.
The finish, by the way, was the crossface.
Yeah. And he did also set it up the entire match. I mean, he kept going back to the shoulder over and over and over again and trying the crossface and not getting it, and he finally hooked it on, and Anderson struggled and tapped out. And like I say, it did not feel like just another match. It felt like something that mattered, and Bobby Roode won. We had another AJ and Dixie meeting. AJ wanted to reveal the secret. Dixie said that she needed a weekend to get things together, her exact words. But they agreed to reveal everything next week. So it's a cliffhanger. And they said that people would get hurt, and then they hugged. And I thought that was the end of the show, but no, there was a whole other segment. They talked about last week how they kept showing the Dixie Carter angle like 3 or 4 times throughout the course of the show. They didn't do anything like that on this show, but this is something I thought was even better. Right before the main event segment, they devoted 2 or 3 minutes to a recap of all the big moments in the show.
Yeah.
They reminded you, here's what happened this week that's important.
They had recaps all night long. It was great.
This one here, well, they did, but this one recapped the entire show. If you only saw the main event, you still know everything that happened on the show. Austin Aries won a match. He challenged the world champion, and Hogan basically gave him an ultimatum. That was the biggest one. There was a battle royal that James Storm came back and won. Dixie and AJ agreed to reveal their secret. Devon beat Hernandez. Just a quick note of everything that happened on the show.
And I would like to add, also fabulous on this show, was not only did we get a lot of replays and video packages, but throughout the entire show, they showed us the best moments from the Slammiversary pay-per-view on Sunday.
Yes.
So what they did was they said, we had a pay-per-view Sunday, and guess what? It mattered. And these are the things that mattered. These are the important things that you can follow up on this week. And it made you think, if you didn't buy the show, maybe I missed something special on pay-per-view.
Yes. It's amazing we have to praise somebody for doing this, but no one does this anymore.
No, this show is like, I don't even know what happened. Well, I know what happened. They got rid of Russo.
It's not
but
complicated.
It's actually like astonishing. Because remember when there was that period where Russo was he was moved out of the position and Bruce Pritchard took over and Russo was just kind of there and allegedly he wasn't doing anything. But the show was still like hit and miss during that period.
Yeah.
As soon as the guy was like completely gotten rid of, this show was turned around. Like, I can't even believe how this show was turned around.
It is amazing.
And meanwhile, Raw is just... my God.
We had a communication breakdown, a few of them, actually. I thought we'd be doing a show last night, and so I took the time to watch Raw. And boy, I was almost angry when I found out I was not doing a show. Then I realized, well, I still have to drive up there, so it's still a net win, but I watched Raw for nothing.
Well, you could have had to watch Raw and then talk about it.
That would have been worse. So, last segment of Impact here. They re-aired the video announcing Sting's induction into the Hall of Fame, or announcement that he would be inducted. And he came down to the ring to talk for a little bit. Crowd loved him a lot. He started to issue thank yous, which is kind of funny because it's not the formal induction ceremony, but they needed a reason for him to be out there. So he thanked the Jarretts for starting TNA. He thanked Dixie Carter, and that's as far as he got. Because at this point, 3 big dudes in masks hit the ring, and they laid him out.
That was wacky.
That was all we know. They appeared to be Caucasian. They were dressed in like blue jeans, masks, and sweatshirts. They threw a bunch of stomps. One of them nearly fell down throwing a stomp. It's a bad sign. And the show went off the air with Sting being beaten and nobody coming out to help.
Yeah.
So we have 2 cliffhangers. What is AJ and Dixie's secret? And who are these big fuckers beating up Sting?
I guess we shall find out.
Yes.
Maybe they're...
Impact is fun. I like Impact.
Impact is great. I actually look forward to Impact.
Yes.
I never thought I'd say that. I'm not going to lie. I never thought I would say I look forward to Impact. But I actually look forward to this show. Because I know that they are going to pay off what they did the week prior. And they are going to build to the next week.
Yes.
I know that they're not going to change their mind and throw out the Impact script and write a brand new one where things just stop happening, or things occur for no good reason, or things occur that make absolutely no sense.
I know that characters are going to stay consistent to their own motivations and principles from one segment to the next.
God, we have baby faces and heels again.
That too.
Remember that bullshit when you couldn't figure out who was who? Do you remember when we had to get a script from Impact to find out who the fuck was a heel and who was a babyface?
I do.
What a bullshit period that was.
And you're right, but when I made that comment, I was actually criticizing Raw.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you are, but I'm still pointing out.
Sometimes guys care about wins, and sometimes they don't.
I wonder if, in a few months, Dixie's going to sit back and go, my God, did I waste 8 years?
I want you to interview her now. That's your only question. Miss Carter, thank you for coming. I have one question for you. Do you regret hanging on to Vince Russo for so long?
Yeah. That's amazing. All right, let's get Impact going here.
Dave put the lineup for the show up this morning, and I looked at it and I thought, wow, that's a lot of stuff for 2 hours. And it turns out that, yes, there was a lot of stuff in 2 hours in the show. Hogan came out to open it. He referenced the attack on Sting last week. He said he was not going to give publicity. Are we still...
Yeah, we're still fine.
We're good? All right.
I just don't know why I can't hear you. But
my headphones just died.
Matter.
So, all right.
These headphones are needless.
All right. Hogan talked about the attack on Sting last week. He hoped Sting would get better soon. He said he was not going to give the attackers publicity by showing the video. He then proceeded to talk about them on national television, saying that they would find out who these people were and they would get justice. And he moved on to Austin Aries, said it was time to make a decision, so Aries came out. They established that option A was to forfeit the X Division title and get a title shot at Bobby Roode's world title at the pay-per-view. Option B was not forfeit the title, not get his world title shot, and I guess this would be a huge humiliation or something. And Aries came up with option C, which is that he wanted to set a precedent wherein every year at Destination X, the X Division champion would have the opportunity to forfeit his title for a world title shot. Hogan thought this was cool. He agreed. Everyone cheered. Roode came out. He was pissed off and screaming, and they talked shit for a while. He brawled with Aries, and then Anderson's music interrupted, and Anderson vowed to win the tournament and face one of them.
I'm distracted. Look at these cats. Something is outside. Look at Tiggy. She's over there by the kitchen sink, and Snorky is right there by that window, and they're both peering at something.
One in the standing.
What is happening out there? What are they looking at?
Should we go investigate?
Let me go investigate.
How can you get to go investigate? Bryan is stepping over thousands of cords. He is jogging over the window. He is scaring a cat off the counter. Looking outside. Doesn't see anything. You have one cat up on the kitchen counter looking out the window by the sink, and the other cat's over by the sliding glass door, good 15, 20 feet away, looking at the other side of the house. So there could be invaders from all sides. Is that... What is that thing? Looks like there's a fat cat looking right inside the window.
No, that's a yart.
I see. All right.
I put the headphones back on even though we don't need them. Yeah,
they're warm, and they keep your ears warm.
I'm glad these are cats and they don't bark. Look at what is she doing? Look at Stork.
She's trying to climb the glass.
These cats are absolutely nuts. Anyway, I like the opening segment because I like the idea of making the X title mean something. Mm-hmm. It's like Money in the Bank now. If you're the X champion, you can hold it until Destination X. You can cash in for a championship match, which is a cool idea. So thumbs up to option C. It's better than option A and B.
It is. It's a significant improvement.
By the way, I look forward to this show every Thursday now. I thought I would throw this out there. The Raw show sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Impact is like a wrestling show that, as a fan, I can look forward to every week.
Yeah, Raw sucks. SmackDown is useless.
Yes.
Impact is the show where when it begins you think, these are the 2 or 3 or maybe 4 things that matter. I remember them right away. There's a video package, but I don't need it because I know what's going on because it's all easy to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's open fight night, but it's also Bound for Glory series night. So the deal was, I guess, the 12 guys were ready to fight, and whoever issued the challenge, they get to pick their opponent for the night. So Anderson came out, and he wanted to wrestle Christopher Daniels. He accused him of being messing with a man's family. Daniels was very upset that he had to stop drinking his Appletini, just for reference. They had a short TV match, and then Mr. Anderson hit his finisher and won.
The only thing I'm still not sold on open fight night, and I'll tell you why. Who got to determine who got to make the challenges here tonight?
First come, first serve, apparently.
First come, first serve?
Yeah.
So you had to choose somebody that had not wrestled yet. Was that kind of the gimmick? How come we didn't have a bunch of people come out and challenge Robbie E? Especially after he lost so quickly like a jobber.
I don't know. The answer is because they conveniently wanted to have everyone in the tournament wrestle once.
All right.
That is the answer. AJ and Dixie had a meeting backstage. He didn't want to reveal the secret. He wanted to find another way. Whatever.
Not a fan.
You know, in hindsight, there was some bad stuff on the show. Now, that being said,
it was all acting.
There was a lot of bad acting on the show. And some bad, well, yeah, but still miles better than a bad Raw these days. Miles better. So it is open fight night, and the other thing about open fight night is that you have to have the reality TV show part where everyone has a verbal debate about why they deserve a title shot. So it was Brooke Hogan and the girls.
Because the women's title had been chosen this week as the one championship that was going to be on the line.
Yeah. So as ODB was in there, and Brooke Hogan and Velvet and Madison and Mickey, and they were talking for a long time, and it sucked. Brooke said that the other Brooke was practicing. And she said Madison was devoting too much energy to her mystery man, and so she was eliminated. The only redeeming factor here was as the graphic came up and as the sound faded away, Brooke told them all that they would have another meeting later in the show, and ODB asked, "Can I just stay here then?"
Brooke Hogan is like no good in this role. I'm sure she's a nice girl, but my God, when she's on the show, it's just, I don't know what it is. I'm just not into this Brooke Hogan thing. And all of the wacky facial expressions that she has to give and everything like that.
She's a very bad overactor.
It's no buys.
A very good overactor is Robbie E. He came to the ring to issue a challenge, but he challenged, well, everyone. He said, "Somebody come fight me." So out came Kurt Angle. He beat Robbie E in the squash match, the best squash I've seen in 2012. He hit some Germans. He hit the Angle Slam. He put on the ankle lock. Robbie E immediately tapped out. Done.
Great.
That's 10 points for Kurt.
I am a big fan of Kurt Angle coming out and completely destroying geeks.
I'm a fan of Robbie E being a geek who gets destroyed. This is thumbs up television. The other thing about Open Fight Night, by the way, the problem is there's like 8 things going on. So in addition to Bound for Glory and Aries' X belt and open challenges and all this, there's also the gut check on the same night. So the gut check challenger this week was a young lady named Taeler Hendricks. They showed clips of her from Ohio Valley. She had cancer at age 21 and has survived, so good for her.
I don't really want to say anything negative about Taeler, especially after I heard about the cancer story, but I cannot help myself. I will never in a million years be able to get over the spelling of her first name.
Taeler.
Absolutely infuriated me. Just absolutely. That is like how many times have I mentioned on this show that's my number one pet peeve? Is the goofy spelling of a common first name. Taeler. Why?
I don't know.
Unacceptable to me. Maybe they can change it. It's only been 1 week and they only showed it on screen one time, so there's still time to change it and nobody will notice. That's my hope.
Magnus came out cutting a promo, and I had no idea what he said, and I thought it was just me, and the announcer said, "I have no idea what he's talking about." So he is still talking after the break, talking about all the women he screwed, but he never screwed around with married gals, so he is challenging the selfish homewrecker AJ Styles.
Selfish home wrecker.
They had a TV match, went like 3 minutes. Kazarian and Daniels came out to distract AJ. Magnus hit him with a very scary-looking Michinoku driver for the win. Yeah, the gut check match. It was Tara versus Taeler Hendricks. They had a perfectly fine TV match.
I think that they mentioned that Tara's from Louisville, which I think is true. So I would presume that these girls have practiced many matches together.
They might have.
and it did end up being totally fine. I would like to mention that as appalled and outraged as I was at the spelling of Taylor's name, she was significantly better in the ring than, say, Velvet Sky. She is able to hit the ropes. She's able to take bumps. She's able to run in a realistic manner. So I was fine with this. She was no worse than any other women's wrestler that I've seen, and better than Minnie.
She was better than Minnie. She, compared to the women of TNA, she looked better than Joey Ryan did compared to the men.
Sure. She would fit right in this women's division.
Immediately. Above average.
Yes.
A production assistant led Joe Park Esq backstage. Mm-hmm. It was a trap. Bully Ray sent this man out there to lure Park backstage so he could bully him. Basically, he yelled at him a lot and said if he ever saw Joe or Chris again, it would be the last time anyone ever saw them. He walked away and poor Joe was left virtually about to cry.
He was very, very sad.
I wanted to help this man so badly. Samoa Joe called out James Storm. He talked about Storm going back to his ranch and, quote, finding your smile.
Yes.
Awesome. We had a match. It was a short TV match. Joe was his Nation of Violence shorts on again. Don't ask me why. So this finish was great. The deal is, because of their overly complex scoring system, and random at that, you get 10 points for a submission, but 7 points for a pin.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe's running wild. He's going through his finish. He has Storm set up for the Muscle Buster, and he decides, wait, I can get more points if I submit this man.
That's right.
So he throws him down to the mat. He goes for a chokehold, but Storm escapes. He hits the super kick. He gets the pin. And Joe's facials afterwards were so awesome. Just, damn it, I got greedy, and I fucked that up.
That's what happens when you get greedy.
You get greedy and fucked it up. But afterwards, he teased hitting Storm with a beer bottle. Then he handed him the beer and a sign of respect, and he left. This was good.
It's fine.
We had the second segment where Brooke Hogan eliminated a challenger. She eliminated ODB for worrying about Eric Young too much. I believe ODB implied that she was going to go fuck Hulk in an attempt to get a title shot. Brooke did not think this was realistic. Bully Ray called out Pope because he was working in Hollywood. The, 7th or 8th short TV match. Ray was outside.
Funny, when Bully Ray did the promo, and he goes, I'm going to call out the weak link. I'm going to call out the Pope. He says, you've been in Hollywood the whole time. You've been doing whatever. I'm going to beat you. I thought, well, that would mean that Pope must win here. Otherwise, the heel is correct. He is just a geek. And sure enough, the Pope won, and I was fine with that. It was not a goofy swerve. It was not some sort of wacky deal to kill the babyface.
It was not a losing streak gimmick.
Yeah, so There you go.
Ray Abyss showed up. He stalked Ray around ringside. He actually grabbed him at one point, but this is not a DQ. Ray rolled inside. Pope hit his move and pinned him, and Ray didn't care. He rolled outside, ran away through the crowd from Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it makes sense. Because, you see, he's a bully. And when someone stands up to him, he runs away.
Yes.
This is the best character, and besides Joe Park, of course. Bully Ray is the best character of 2012. So, Hulk met with RVD and Jeff. Through great convenience, they were the only two guys left in the Bound for Glory series who didn't have a match.
Yes.
So he was very happy that he got his biggest stars, that's what he said, in the main event. And he walked away saying, man, I'm lucky. And also, ha-ha!
Yep.
Hulk was great here.
Man, I'm lucky. Never mind that he runs the show, and he could have signed these men to a match and then did the other deal, but this is all just...
It doesn't matter. It was worth it.
At least he didn't have to remember any lines.
Just to hear him go, ha-ha!
He just had to be Hulk Hogan.
They showed Velvet Sky's video with Montgomery Gentry.
Well, part of it.
Well, from what we saw, she appeared to be in the video much more than the band themselves.
Which is fine.
It makes total sense to me. So it was time to find out who would challenge Brooke Tessmacher. Brooke Hogan told Velvet and Mickey she was both proud of them. They were all happy. There was one part where Mickey was, again, subtly jealous of Velvet's video cameo. Shouldn't say cameo, video highlight. But in the end, Brooke chose Mickey to get the title shot.
Mm-hmm.
For reasons, by the way, that if she mentioned them, I totally missed.
Well, I actually felt that it made perfect sense because she gave Velvet the music video shot, so it was only fair that now Mickey got a chance at something, which was a championship match.
She was just distributing the wealth.
I like how I can come up with a explanation that is perfectly logical for these things. That's a sign of a good TV show, in my opinion.
So, Tessmacher and Mickey had a match. There were a lot of arm bars. This was the longest match in the show. It was actually pretty good in the whole. This also had a great finish. Mickey was running wild. She's going to hit her DDT, regain the title, be very happy. But Tessmacher turned the DDT into a sunset flip. She got the pin. She took her belt and left. Mickey was left seething in the ring. Yes. She had no video. She had no belt, and she was pissed.
Very, very angry hardcore country. That's a bunch of good finishes on the show, by the way, so I don't know if they replaced the agents or what happened.
Maybe they're just thinking for the first time ever.
Yeah, maybe they said, hey, agents, let's have some communication between you guys here. Let's come up with some good ideas.
Finishes that mean something that makes sense and lead to something else. Jeff Hardy wrestled Rob Van Dam. Shortest match they've ever had. Not the worst.
Not the worst. This was the best 3-minute match I've seen in a long-ass time.
Yeah. Rob Van Dam, for I believe the first time I've ever seen, attempted a 450 splash. He missed it. Jeff
pulled it off.
He pulled the move off. So that laid him out. I assume that's why he did this. He didn't want to miss this. Well, he's missed his splash all the time. Point is, he missed this 450, so Jeff DDT'd him onto his head. Rob just barely kicked out, and so Jeff followed with a twist of fate for the win.
This is something where I have mentioned a million times that live versus taped, in terms of ratings, does not matter at all in 2012. It makes absolutely no difference. We've seen it a million times. Fans don't even know when the show is live and when it's taped. However, when I give arguments as to why this show needs to do well so they can remain live, people are like, well, it doesn't matter, so who cares if it's live or not? Well, the answer is, these wrestlers are so much more motivated now that the show is live because the show feels important to them. And that's what this seemed like to me. Like, I've seen Jeff Hardy and Rob Van Dam have a million matches in TNA. And most of the time, they go out there, they do their stuff. It's fine. Sometimes it's good. But oftentimes, it's like they're just doing their thing. But tonight, they had 3 minutes, and they fucking worked their asses off for 3 minutes. And I thought it was a hell of a main event for 3 minutes. So I am all for Impact's remaining live because the fans are better too. The fans are awesome. There's no more of that goofy, the piped-in fake cheering and everything like that. These fans are excited for the show because it's live, because they're on national television, and it just makes for an overall better atmosphere. And this main event was a perfect example of that.
You actually reminded me of something I was going to say on the last show, but we didn't do it because we skipped over SmackDown. And this actually demonstrates how missable SmackDown is. Do you realize the main event of that show was Damian Sandow and Tyson Kidd? That was the main event.
Yes.
Just wanted to say that.
Yes.
Although, to be fair, the last segment on Impact here was no better. It was actually much worse than that. AJ and Dixie came out for the big reveal. They were going to reveal the secret. Then they decided not to. Then they started to leave. Then a woman came out. They told her she didn't have to do this. She said she wanted to. She got in the ring. She gave her name. I did not catch her first name. Her last name was Lynch. She said her family was close to the Carters. She had known AJ for years. The crowd did not give a shit about her, and why should they? Everything she said, they said what? She said AJ and Dixie were not having an affair, and when she announced this, the crowd booed. They were pro-philandering. So, this woman said that she had been addicted to booze and pills and stealing from her family, and this was a secret, and that's what AJ and Dixie had been protecting. Crowd just shit all over this. So Daniels and Kazarian were freaking out backstage about Christ knows what. They hit the ring. AJ beat the fuck out of them.
I hope Kazarian's alive.
He had a powerbomb of death on Frankie Kazarian. And then he was laying into Daniels and the show ended. So what we're left with...
Please explain.
I will do my best. There's this girl.
Yeah.
She did a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
AJ and Dixie wanted to keep her drug habit a secret. Somehow, this led to photos and video and a phone call where it appeared they were having an affair. And the secret was so important, they could not even tell Dixie's husband. Daniels and Kazarian apparently knew all this, but went forward with a plan to humiliate them because why? I failed. I did my best. I failed.
I also do not know what the hell's going on. She said she did drugs. She had done a lot of drugs or something, but I don't know if that meant like right now. Like, I did not get the impression that AJ and Dixie were covering up her drug habit.
Okay.
I had the impression they were saving her or helping her in some way. And I don't know why or what.
No.
But I will say that she was wearing loose-fitting clothing, and when she first came out, I thought she was pregnant. So, perhaps the story is that all of these drugs and such that she did caused her to have an ability to conceive, and AJ and Dixie have assisted. Am I just out of my mind? Am I completely nuts?
You saying AJ knocked her up?
Well, no, not necessarily, but maybe they each provided something.
I see.
So that's,
you can say eggs and sperm.
That's the big secret. Well, I don't know how this works. I'm not a scientist.
All right.
But that was what I concluded, but I could have just been making shit up.
All right. Well, there's worse ideas. Regardless, this died.
This did not work in front of the live crowd at all.
No, this left everyone confused.
In fact, it appeared the live crowd was upset that, in fact, AJ was not fucking Dixie.
They thought he was the man. They should have cheered because now she's available.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, as they say, we shall see.
Yeah,
I presume this is not the end of the angle.
The bad news is we shall see.
I have absolutely no idea what's going on, but the impression that I was given was that there was still a long, long way to go in this storyline. So I think this was just a fork in the road that perhaps a better roadmap needed to be provided to the fans.
This was a shitty fork.
I don't know if people are going to be talking about this in a positive way tomorrow.
The fans got forked.
But we'll see. We'll see. It could have been worse. They could have revealed that Dixie had given birth to a hand.
This was still better than Raw.
Yes. All right, let's move on.
To what?
To Impact, you dumbass.
I mean, sure, you never know. You might want to have another blues song to talk about or something. Impact opened with AJ and Dixie having a meeting. They talked about Claire. AJ had a long monologue. It was very phony.
What the hell is Claire's last name again? Lynch. Claire Lynch.
This is the latest development in the Claire Lynch project.
Wow.
We had Mr. Anderson versus Rob Van Dam in a Bound for Glory series match. You summed this up better than I could, actually, at the end, when you said that was the best... Okay, what do you say? Like the best
bad, sloppy match I've seen in a while.
Yes. Their work was clumsy, it was awkward, it was uncoordinated, but they paced it well, and they built it well, and by the end, everyone liked the finish. Anderson went for his fireman's carry. Rob turned into a crucifix for the pin. So 7 points for Rob Van Dam. And they put up the scoreboard. And the scoreboard had not changed much by the end of the night. James Storm was way out in front. Samoa Joe was a clear number 2. And everyone else is still kind of clustered together. Aries came out for a promo. Didn't really say anything new. He just repeated to everyone that he had made the decision to forfeit his X title for a world title shot. He respected the history of he was respecting the history of the belt and making his own history at the same time. This, they're reinforcing and getting over how important it is that he's sacrificing this belt for a title shot, the other belt. He said there'd be a tournament for the X belt at the pay-per-view.
He said something like, I want to protect the lineage of the title or something. And I just thought, you're breaking it.
You're ending it.
You're ending the lineage here in your attempts to protect it.
Yep. So, Roode finally interrupted, came out and said his belt was the only one that mattered. Aries was an undeserving challenger who was only getting a shot because Hogan had made a bad decision. Told Aries to get out of his ring. Aries said, why don't you make me? They stared each other down, and finally Roode backed off. This is nothing groundbreaking or revolutionary, but it was good. More from Dixie and Claire.
Claire Lynch.
I did not, when she was on last week, I did not give her enough credit for being a lousy actress. Like, by the standards of a pro wrestling show.
I was just greatly entertained by how, I don't know how long it was last week. Let's say it's 5 minutes. They edited the entire thing together so the replay was 2 seconds long. Yes. You've never seen such brief clips of an interview in your lifetime.
They cut out 97% of it.
More. They cut out 99% probably easily. She was quite atrocious, and again, I still wasn't exactly sure what was going on.
No.
And I don't feel that I'm an idiot. I could be, but I don't feel that way.
Yeah, so she was saying that she had never met Cass and Daniels before, and Dixie had to correct her and say, oh, you may have met them in passing. So, presumably that's important. I don't know why. Meanwhile, Kazarian was pissed at Daniels for making up this lie about an affair.
See, I was fixing to be pissed off about this until at the end of the show it turned out that they were in cahoots. But at the time, I'm sitting there thinking, what are you so mad about? I don't understand. So, you were fine with attempting to destroy the marriage of AJ Styles and the marriage of Dixie Carter by alerting the world that they were having an affair. But when it turns out that, in fact, they weren't having an affair, now you're upset? You know what I mean?
Well,
like you were happy revealing it, but when you found out that it's not true, then you weren't happy about it anymore. You were awfully happy revealing it.
Dude, keep in mind, this whole thing started with Daniels blackmailing Frankie.
Well, that's a different story entirely.
This story has been, everyone has been changed, and who's on whose side and who knows what. It started with Kaz being a reluctant partner, then he and Daniels were on the same page, then Daniels was lying to him. It just needs to stop. Honestly, it cannot be saved. The storyline sucks.
Actually, well, we'll get to it.
We had, I guess this was a qualifier for the X Division tournament. It was Sanjay Dutt versus Rubix. Rubix was Jigsaw with a goofy new name.
I preferred when I thought they called him Ruben.
Just Ruben. I thought with the mask on.
Could have come out with this in a sandwich costume.
They had this match was in fact total nonstop action. They did a bunch of cool looking spots. And Rubix looked really good. He could fit right in fine. Sanjay got the win with a moonsault foot stomp. This was the most brutal finisher I've seen in years and years and years.
It wasn't a moonsault foot stomp where you land on the guy and then immediately backward roll off of him.
Right.
He did a giant backflip off the top rope, and he stuck it like at the gymnastics meets at the Olympics.
Like he may as well just bounced forward off the man.
Yeah, this is
something
else.
Wow. This was horrifying. So he did a post-match promo with Christie vowing to win the tournament. It was a hell of a segment, and there's another one of these later, but I'll just say this now. It's funny that they've been doing this gut check gimmick, where they take an indie geek, have him lose, and then have guys talk about him, have him beg for a job, and maybe he gets it, maybe he doesn't, and it's been stupid. Then they took two indie geeks, had him have a match, then the winner got to cut a promo, and got over more in 10 minutes than anyone has done in 3 months.
Yeah.
It happened twice on the show. Speaking of, we got to watch the gut check debate. There's Taz and Bruce Pritchard and Al Snow talking about Taeler Hendricks' attitude, how she carries herself, if anyone will pay to see her on pay-per-view.
I was fine with all of this until Al started saying, would anyone pay to see this girl on pay-per-view? And it was like, you do realize your shows do 7,000 buys. No one's paying to see anybody on the pay-per-view. The people that are buying the pay-per-view are your diehard fans that are going to buy the pay-per-views. Now, granted, Slammiversary did better than normal, but you're still talking 1.5 million viewers and 15,000 buys. That is a terrible number. So don't give the argument, is anybody going to pay to see this girl? Because it's preposterous. It's preposterous. You could bring in fact, they have. You could bring in Christian, nobody's going to pay to see him. So that just annoyed me. Everything else I was fine with. Mostly because Taz gave essentially the same speech I gave to Todd Martin today when we were doing Todd's Odds, and he asked me my thoughts on whether Taeler would be hired, and I said yes, and he said no. So I win!
Ha-ha! We then had a great pro wrestling television segment. Bully Ray versus Samoa Joe in a Bound for Glory series match.
Yes.
They noted that Joseph Park Esquire had not bought his ticket and sat in his usual seat.
Bought his ticket for the free show.
They suggested that Bully Ray had finally scared him off. So Bully Ray gets better every week. First of all, he's now doing the spot where you spit in the air and then catch the spit in your own mouth. That's always classic. So he tries to intimidate and bully Samoa Joe. And because Vince Russo is not booking, it does not work. Joe stands up for himself. Bully immediately turns into a coward and backs down. It's amazing on the show. You have the best character in wrestling in Bully Ray and the worst character in wrestling in Claire Lynch. So I'm watching these guys wrestle, and I think, how can they probably at some point have wrestled in TNA, but these men should have been feuding for months. This is a natural match, if ever there was one. So they're having a match, and it's not like this is the best match either guy's ever had or anything, but it's just a very good TV match. It's very well paced. I understood what was happening. It was a very watchable show. So Ray hits a big boot on the outside. He asks the ref to count Joe out. As the ref is counting, who should come out from the locker room on the other side of the ring but Joe Park Esquire.
Mm-hmm.
He climbs up on the apron. Bully Ray walks over. He grabs him by the lapels, and Joe Park slaps Bully Ray across the face.
Yes.
And Bully Ray was stunned. And Joe was, the only word you can describe this expression, he was indignant. He had enough of this.
This being Joe Park.
Yeah. Not Joe, Samoa Joe. Joe from Chicago Joe. He was indignant at Bully Ray and the way he had been behaving for all these months. So Ray was not even necessarily hurt. He was just flabbergasted this has happened. Joe attacked him from behind. He put on the rear naked choke. Bully Ray, being a coward, tapped out immediately, like before the hold was even on. So Joe gets 10 points, so he's very happy. At this point, Joe Park grabs a microphone, says Bully Ray was nothing but a jackass bully. Said he'd been bullied all his life from grade school all the way to law school. It ends tonight. This is no longer about my brother Abyss. This is about you and me. 2 weeks from tonight, you give me 2 weeks to get ready. I will fight you in that ring again. And Ray was just sitting there holding his face saying, you slapped me. This is so fantastic.
Joe Park is the best babyface.
Joe Park is awesome.
Around.
Samoa Joe is awesome. Bully Ray is awesome. This segment, I talk all the time about, I had the big rant about the treadmill that Raw's been on, and people ask why we don't watch Superstars. Well, because it doesn't matter. This segment mattered. Everything that happened in this segment happened for a reason. Samoa Joe and Bully Ray had a match. Why were they having a match? Because they were in a tournament. They're trying to win a title shot. Why did Joe want to win by submission? Because that's worth more points. Why did Joseph Park Esquire come out? Because it was time to stand up for himself. Why was Bully Ray shocked? Because Joe had not fired up for himself this entire time. Just everything had a purpose here. Everything that happened in the segment accomplished something. A storyline was moved along. Something was done. I loved this with all my heart.
I hope that in their match, at the very beginning, Bully cheats. Like immediately as he's getting in the ring and gets the heat and just beats the crap out of him for like 3 straight minutes. And then all of a sudden Joe Park does the full Abyss comeback and the black hole slam and the pin. That's all I'm asking for.
they have to be building to that.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
So I love this segment so much.
They did note, by the way, Joe Park did note, and granted he was stealing Bully Ray's catchphrase, but he said something to the effect of, "Do you know who I am?"
Yes.
So the tease continues.
Yes. So I love this segment so much, I'm not even going to talk about the end of it where Dixie and Claire are on for more shitty television.
Actually, I will. So I got to talk about Dixie and Claire Lynch. Claire Lynch is such a horrible actress that all of a sudden Dixie Carter looks like she knows what she's doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Like, I believe Dixie Carter, and I never did before. But Claire Lynch is so completely unbelievable that Dixie is now a seasoned pro in this acting gimmick. I'll talk more about that later.
Speaking of that stupid storyline, Kazarian met with Hogan. He announced he could not team with Chris Daniels anymore. Hogan said, "You need to be accountable for your own actions. Don't blame him." And he said, "I booked the match. You can team with Daniels, or you can fight AJ and Angle on your own." I don't know. Why couldn't Daniels fight him on his own?
So Kazarian, even though him and Daniels are in on this, he still went in and tried to get one of them pulled from the match. That's a poor strategy.
I don't think that we're supposed to think they were in cahoots the entire time.
I think you're wrong.
I think that Kazarian surprised Daniels when he turned on AJ at the end.
I think you're wrong, but we'll find out.
The fact that we were having this argument proves it failed.
Well,
Madison talked to Garrett. She had a question about her crush. He didn't know who she was talking about. She whispered his name in his ear. He chuckled, wished her luck, and walked away.
Earl.
We had a segment with one great line, and then it went downhill immediately and never recovered. So Brooke Hogan got Brooke Tessmacher a sponsorship deal with Direct Auto Insurance.
A very lucrative deal.
They had like 24 different pictures of the Direct Auto Insurance logo and Brooke doing poses. So Gail came in and said they had a new tagline: "Cheap rates, cheap girl." That made me laugh.
That's a good one.
Then they did some god-awful smack talk.
You know, at least Brooke is only in a single solitary segment on the show, and it was short.
Yes. So all of them looked bad. And Brooke,
I wouldn't say that.
I think all three of them came off looking bad.
Gail was great.
No, Gail had one great line. Otherwise, they were just jibber-jabbering all over each other and not saying anything interesting. So Brooke booked the other Brooke against Gail next week. We had Rashad Cameron versus Mason Andrews. Rashad Cameron was, in fact, G's. As you noted, he became probably the first guy to appear on SmackDown and on Impact in a 1 week span.
Well, Christian.
He was on Impact.
It was. Oh, he was on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
You're right.
Although I guess that would probably count anyway. So, Mason Andrews, by the way, was Scorpio Sky. So, Sky looked awesome. He looked great. This man needs to be on TV every week. This is the first time between Urban Wrestling Federation and a Ryback squash that I've actually gotten to see G's wrestle. He looked good, too. They were getting "This is awesome" chants. G's eventually won with the jumping faceplant thing that Shelton Benjamin and Truth use. So, my first thought was, well, the wrong man won here. But then because he won, G's got to cut a promo, and G's cut a great promo. Said it was the start of the Rashad Cameron movement. He plugged Philadelphia, although he wanted to be called Philly. 215, whatever. He had a great promo. So, yes, for the second time on this show, a guy showed up, won a match, cut a promo, and got himself more over than the Gut Check has done so far.
I liked it, but I thought it went a little too long.
The promo or the match?
The match.
All right. Hulk had a meeting with James Storm and Jeff Hardy. They brought up that they just still don't know who the men who attacked Sting were. Hulk said, quote, "There's nobody who works here or did work here that would do that."
Yes, we said.
Aside from, I don't know,
every
the entire
heel,
roster.
Bully Ray, For example, on this very show,
Abyss,
Daniels and Kazarian.
Crimson.
Oh, my God.
Everyone does
That was
sneak
the
attack.
stupidest line.
I don't know. So he talked about how great these two men were and said they'd be in the main event next week. And Storm was
Chances are they'll be outsiders, so I think that was the reason the line was in there, but it was a stupid line.
So Storm heard he was going to wrestle Jeff in the main event next week. Was very, very excited. Jeff heard he was in the main event next week and fell asleep. He didn't care.
He don't care about much these days.
He doesn't.
He's calmed down in his later years.
It was gut check decision time. Jeremy Borash now is doing this entire segment as the best horrible game show host ever. So Taeler comes out, and Borash says, "All right, Taz, how do you vote?" And usually when they do this, people will make a little speech. You know, you do this well, or I was not impressed with this, but then I saw you do this. Taz thought about it, and Taz said, "Yes." That was all he had to say.
Yep.
So Al Snow was about to talk when who should appear in the front row but Joey Ryan?
Indeed.
He had a sign about himself. He was calling out Taz, calling him a tough guy, daring him to hit him. Taz went out to shout at him. Al Snow went out to separate them. He had security lead Joey Ryan away. And then they all got back in the ring like nothing had happened. Borash dropped one line about live TV. And they just went back to cutting wacky promos with wacky music in the background. So Al, who was the one who brought Taeler in, he voted no. So because the first two judges were split, which always happens, this means, and I'm quoting Borash here, you get a chance to kick out.
Yes.
You can kick out. And cut a promo to save yourself here.
Keep in mind, by the way, that the person that brought her in for gut check was Al Snow.
I just said that.
I know.
So
I want everyone to keep it in mind.
Taeler begged for a job, basically, was what she did. And the crowd was chanting yes for her, and Pritchard said that she was green, but she had desire and class, unlike some people, in reference to Joey Ryan. He said they could work with that, and he voted yes. So Taeler got a job.
There you go. Not to mention the Al Snow. Anyway.
AJ and Angle had a meeting. Somewhere in here, AJ announced that he and Daniels had a last man standing match at the pay-per-view. So they were going to go out tonight to defend their tag titles against Kazarian and Daniels. And Angle closed out their meeting with this line. "Let's give it our best, and we'll win."
Yeah.
Great motto.
Yeah, Vinny, great motto. A motto that you should take into account in your life.
Give it our best, and we'll win.
Indeed.
I've tried giving my best. I didn't win. A updated leaderboard. We talked about that already. So we had the main event. Angle and AJ versus Daniels and Kazarian. Thank God the wrestling in this feud is good. So Daniels and Kazarian were not getting along. They were getting beat up a lot. They got the heat on AJ just enough to set up a hot tag to Kurt. He ran wild. He suplexed the hell out of everyone. The ref got bumped. And Angle got thrown out of the ring. So Daniels grabs a chair, but Frankie pulls it away from him. AJ dropped Daniels with a kick. He looked at Kazarian. Kazarian threw the chair down, and he walked away. So AJ set up Daniels with a Styles Clash. Kazarian returned. He whacked AJ with a chair. He put Daniels on top. Daniels got the pin. And here's where we have our disagreement. Because Daniels looked up at Kazarian like he was surprised. The announcers were very surprised. And Kazarian tossed him a belt. And they hugged. And, then, by the way, at random, for no reason I can think of, Daniels chose this moment to announce that AJ was the father of Claire's baby.
I think Daniels looked at him in mock surprise.
I see.
Like, oh my God, you helped me? I never would have thought. I think that Claire... I've already forgotten again. Lynch. Is a hideous actress.
No, you're right.
And that is the problem with the storyline continuing. Now, with that said, I actually enjoyed the twist. Maybe it was a delivery by Christopher Daniels, who was just golden. But I liked it, just because it wasn't hard to figure out. It was rather straightforward. The storyline is that AJ and Dixie were not, in fact, having an affair. They are both innocent. They were helping this girl. I don't really know all the details. I don't understand why. I don't understand why Dixie couldn't explain this to her husband.
Why was this a secret?
I don't know why this went on for so long and caused problems between AJ, Serge, and Dixie instead of just telling him what was going on. I don't understand all of that. But with that said, the gist of it is that Claire Lynch had a problem. AJ and Dixie helped her. And now it has been revealed that while AJ and Dixie were not having an affair, AJ is now accused of fathering Claire Lynch's demon seed. That's a good twist. I don't know where it's going to go. Do I really care? Not really.
I definitely do not care.
I am I just can't believe we're going to see Claire Lynch every week.
Yeah, she's stuck with her.
Like, it's astonishing.
They should. I know you don't watch soap operas. I used to watch Days of Our Lives. And sometimes an actor would leave the show. They didn't kill off the character. They would just have a new actor. And you would watch this person walk in and you think, who the hell is that? And then a little graphic would appear on the screen saying, the part of so-and-so is now being played by blah, 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 blah. They should do that with Claire. Just bring in a new woman next week.
I don't think it's going to work, Vinny.
Come on now.
This ain't a soap opera.
I disagree.
You know what? I will say this that's positive about Claire Lynch is at least they were smarter this week. At all of the times she had to talk, they taped it backstage and may have done 80 takes. And I don't know if it's... I don't obviously know what Dixie was actually thinking, but I was watching it, and the look on Dixie's face during all of those backstage segments with Claire Lynch, to me was, my God, this sucks, but we just got to keep going.
The other highlight of this that I forgot to mention, Daniels drops his bombshell that AJ has been spreading his seed far and wide, and they cut for a reaction shot to Dixie and Claire, and I couldn't look at them, because I was looking at the gentleman to Claire's right. He's just a fan, just there in his blue shirt, but he was looking at Claire, and he looked impressed. You fucked AJ Styles, he thought. Way to go!
Yeah.
He thought this was an achievement.
So that was Impact, everybody. I guess we'll see where things go here with Claire Lynch